get enough, too caught up in your love. I've been trying to forget, but you won't let me. Something in my brain wants you. I've been hanging by myself, asking for help, but nothing seems to work on you. Yeah, you always make me feel like, oh yeah, you never leave my thoughts alone, yeah, you're the reason I'm going out my mind. I just can't stop thinking about you. All that I crave when you're away, nights are sleepless. Do we need space? Yeah, maybe a break. Boy, you're my weakness. Give and we take, the love that we make, it's my favorite drug. Too caught up in your love. I've been trying to forget, but you won't let me. Something in my brain wants you. I've been hanging by myself, asking for help, but nothing seems to work on you. Yeah, you always make me feel like, oh yeah, you never leave my thoughts alone, yeah, you're the reason I'm going out my mind. I just can't stop thinking about, yeah, you got me feeling some type of way. You make me wanna stay in all day. You're the reason I can't get out my head. I just can't stop thinking about you. 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 I just can't stop thinking about you.
The Nathan Ivey Show is supported by listeners. Go to www.patreon.com/Nathan Ivey Show and help Nathan keep the show independent. This is the Nathan Ivey Show. Get ready to be engaged. Get ready to be informed. Get ready to be enraged by the man City Beat magazine called a talk radio rebel. And your host, now back to the show.
Talking to my mirror like I love you so much. Curving on my critics like I heard you, so what? You can't kill my confidence, I think I'm the man. Tally all the I ever gave on my head. Lately I've been living like I can't take a loss. They ain't wanna help me, that's what made me a boss. You can't kill my confidence, I think I'm the man. We don't give a fuck, that's what they don't understand.
Back again like flu season. I broke records while loose leafing. I'm coming down my roof, leaving. Don't give a fuck, I don't care. Did the for my lonesome. No wonder now I'm on one. No shortcuts on that long run. All I really want is my share. Get on my God, I told him it's nothing. In the discussion, for them feelings, I throw all my pain on percussion. The disgusting. I hear them bragging about that they did, and it do not move me, not in the least. They ain't been dropping no seeds in the soil, but swear that you almost spotted the feast. I've been on go mode, showboat, rowboat, wave ride. Cool shorty, too naughty, pool party, wet for the face ride.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Nathan Ivy with you, and I hope you had an excellent weekend. Seems like it was just yesterday. Give me 1 second, family, to make sure I'm looking right before we turn the camera on. Had to make sure I ran the trash out. Almost forgot. You know how it is. And I want to make sure I'm looking presentable before we turn this cam on. Most definitely. Good morning, sir. We turn the cam on. Hold on. You know me, I'm not shy. I don't mind doing this live with you. Hold on, take a look. I think we're looking good. Because if not, I will get a text message. Somebody concerned citizen of Cyber Wakanda. I think we're good. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Nathan Ivy with you. It's been a tremendous weekend. Hey, there we go. Got the jam on. Yeah, we ready to do it. You ready to do it? How are you? Hope you're doing well this morning. I'm doing excellent. Hope you had a great weekend. How many people watched the Super Bowl? Raise your hand if the Super Bowl was on in your household last night. I'm going to kick off the show talking about that, but that won't be everything that we discussed this morning. We might even have some special guests to give us a call or a Zoom call into the show this morning as well. And we'll talk about some things that are happening that I think are very, very important. But of course, last night was the big game, the so-called Super Bowl. Look at this image right here. People have lost their damn minds. You think I'm going to buy these flat screen TVs, these smart TVs, man, they are so cheap these days. Like, I just remember when the technology about flat screen TVs was like coming in to like become popular and everybody was buying them. Man, I remember my first flat screen TV was like 26 inches, cost me $800. I thought I was fly though, because I had like a flat screen TV. Y'all may know this, you may know this, may not know this, but as a little bit of a hobby, I've enjoyed gaming over the years. Those are my passions, poker and online gaming. You can find me on Xbox, the illest, although these days I'm not on as nearly as much as I want to do. That's not nearly as much. But so I bought my first flat screen, man. I can't remember tell you what year it was. It cost me $800. It was like $750 for like a 26-incher. Now, $800, man. Man, for $800, I can get a smart TV that'll wake me up. It'll do coffee. It'll stream internet. It'll do everything. I can get like 60 inches for $800, man. Like $800 today gets you top of the line. Back in the day, 26 inches. But nevertheless, you think I'm going to buy a television screen and then because of a football game, I'm going to do what this man did? Check this out. God. Now, this is a really sad scene right here. I don't know about you, but my spider sense was going off. I'm going to play it for you again, but there was some sadness in that. Number one, the NFL has us fooled. They got us fooled. I'm here to tell you that the Super Bowl is no longer super, and I don't think it ever was super. We got a few reasons, 3 reasons as to why the Super Bowl isn't so super. Number one, the vast majority of people that's watching it, you're not getting anything out of it. You're not getting a check. You're not getting a ring. This goes for any sports championship. But right now we're going to talk about the Super Bowl because it was just last night. And oh, yeah, by the way, Captain Tom Brady has now, 7 Super Bowl rings or something like that? Something super stupid that no one's ever going to surpass ever. People are talking about whether he's the GOAT or not. I'll leave that for other folks. I don't know if he's the GOAT or not. He's damn consistent. I'll tell you that much. He was first in the Super Bowl when the opposing starting quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, and also reigning Super Bowl champions, by the way, Patrick Mahomes, was like 6 years old. 6? That means Tom Brady has been at the top of the game for a long time. There's something to be said for excellence. Excellence is not just a flash in the pan. Anybody can be great for a short time frame. Can you be great in your particular endeavor over a long period of time? That is true greatness. Anybody can be, they call them flash in the pan. You can be a flash in the pan, right? You hot for a second, then nobody heard from you again. But to be consistently good in a team sport, to make it to the championship over and over and over again, that says a lot about you. That's why I give LeBron so many props, because most people don't know what they're talking about. They don't even know how to look and judge these team sports. LeBron has been consistently great. That means getting to the championship for over for a decade. That's hard to do. Now, whether he wins the game or not, that's completely different. But just getting to the championship is harder than a motherfucker, because everybody else trying to get there too. So you got to give Tom Brady and all these sports athletes, at least in that particular, field of play, props for what they're doing. You got to give them props for that, right? But they got us fooled, man. Number one, I watched, the game was on as I was doing other things, and it was far from super. I mean, number one, the Super Bowl is just not what it used to be in terms of the commercials, and that's because of the digital age. The digital age has caught up to the Super Bowl. You can see cutting edge, inventive and cool stuff. You can go on TikTok. TikTok is far more cutting edge in terms of marketing these days than anything you're going to see or you saw last night. Tell me I'm wrong. There used to be a time when everybody was fascinated to watch the Super Bowl commercials. That stuff cannot keep up with the silhouette challenge and the busset challenge. They ain't do no busset challenge. I'm just saying, I mean, TikTok is far, far, far more advanced in terms of marketing these days than anything that you're going to see during the Super Bowl halftime. Because I saw it, and I was not impressed at all. It was mediocre. That ish was mediocre as hell. Stop lying to yourself. But they got too many of us convinced that we are really watching the show. We're watching the show. That's another reason why. So I gave you two reasons. Number one, the number one reason why the Super Bowl isn't super is because I'm not getting a check. You're not getting a check. So what the fuck we watching this for? They in shape and they getting checks. We eating bad food and we ain't getting no checks. Now, I didn't eat any bad food last night. Y'all already know. I mean, last night and this whole month is so reflective for my family because I was almost out of here a year ago. So it's got a whole different meaning to me. But get this straight to me. So the masses are eating bad food. You're not getting a check, watching these millionaires and billionaires and 100,000aires who's in great shape. They getting checks and diamond rings. What is there to celebrate? I don't get it. I don't understand it. They got us convinced that this is somehow some kind of super cultural event. It is not. So number one, we ain't getting no checks. And the vast majority of people watching the game are nowhere near in shape as the people that you're watching. Okay? So that's number one, strike number one. Number two, in terms of it being a cutting edge of Madison Avenue and marketing, them days is over with. Like I said, the internet has caught up. Twitter has caught up. YouTube has caught up. TikTok has caught up and surpassed you in terms of interesting, unique marketing and media. That shit ain't nowhere near it. Like I said, I ain't seen no silhouette challenge. I'm kind of fond of the silhouette challenge. You see any of that? There was no busted challenges. I mean, it was just commercials, This is this is 2021. I mean, y'all really all that. Raise your hand if you all into it for the commercials. It's 2021. Yeah, I see better entertainment. I saw better entertainment at the Capitol riots. I'm gonna be honest with you. That was far more entertaining to me than the commercials. I'm just saying. All right. I'm just two strikes. I'm just telling you, they got us convinced that the Super Bowl is some kind of super cultural event. And then the halftime show. How many people watch the halftime show? And I hate to be such a Debbie Downer and a critic and all this kind of stuff, but this is just my natural thoughts. You know what I'm saying? The halftime show is all right. It's all right. Then the weekend came out. We had a debate in our house about whether he's a singer or a performer. And we all agreed, and by we, I mean myself, my wife, my two children, that the Weeknd is a fantastic singer. That boy can sing. He's got a cool stage name. He's got a lot of dope tracks. It's world famous. I give him props for that. But Super Bowl halftime, I mean, I can march. I'm marching. I mean, It was all right. It was all right. I don't really understand the bandages. I know it's got a deeper meaning. He was giving some deeper commentary about the state of beauty in Hollywood or something like that. I'm sure it's super dope. I was like, damn, they couldn't get Bruno Mars again? Beyonce? They can't get Beyonce. I mean, if you can't get Beyonce, can you get Beyonce at least? It came and went. It was okay. The game itself was over by halftime. You got a chance to know it was over. And again, for football purists and you like this kind of stuff, it's good. But to break my TV over a game in which I don't have anything on the line, you ain't it's never happening. If I spent 15 cents on a television, I'm not going to do this. Look at this fool. This fool. It's sad too. Listen. Look at that fake laughter. She was trying so hard to laugh. She really wanted to cry. He's probably abusive, sis. You need to leave his abusive ass. That's not normal. Normal men don't do that. Normal men ain't getting upset with the Chiefs jerseys on because the Chiefs lost. And smashing flat screen televisions. That's not normal. That's abusive, sis. You can hear it in her voice. I'm going to play it for you one more time. She is like, is a plea for help. She need to lead this fool quick. Check this out. Where's the funny? That's universal sounds of you trying to force laughter out of here. There's nothing funny about that. She probably terrified, like, oh God, it's going to be a rough night because the Chiefs lost. Because the Chiefs lost? It ain't that damn serious. Over the Chiefs. You need to chief your ass down to that damn gym. That's what you need to do, bruh. That's what you need to do. The hell? See, this is what passes as acceptable behavior out here. If I was Patrick Mahomes, I'd be pissed off. Take that damn jersey off. And then somebody else comes in. Oh, yeah, it's the TV's fault. Yeah, you're going to break the TV because the Chiefs lost. Listen, if you are in a ladies, if you're in a relationship with a man and he does this, leave his ass immediately. That is a precursor to what he's going to do to your ass when he gets caught in his feelings one day, because that ain't normal. Like, I remember being at UC when Kenyon Martin got that. He had like a broken leg or something, right? I remember that. Man, I was super disappointed. I was super disappointed about it. But I wasn't that damn disappointed. I was at UC. I mean, you could argue that there was a stronger strength of relationship at that particular point than just, I live in Kansas City and I bought a Patrick Mahomes jersey. I mean, you could argue that, but I mean, you do what you want to do. To me, that is not good behavior. Hold on one second here. I need to reschedule it. I had an interview, but I need to make sure I'm 100% prepared. So I'll try to reschedule it. Hopefully she's watching right now and we can reschedule this for tomorrow. But let me get back to what I was saying. I remember being at UC and being super disappointed because Kenyon Martin, man, we was going to win a championship that year. Go Bearcats. We was going, minus what happened to Sam DeBose, obviously. But we was going to win a championship that year, man. I was so disappointed. But you think I'm going to break my flat screen TV because the Bearcats lost? You have lost your ever-loving mind. This is not normal behavior. But the NFL has us convinced that you're somehow winning something because your team won. Let me tell you something. Put the mic up a little closer, all right? If the Bengals win a championship, what is that going to do for anything in the city of Cincinnati? Because I challenge whether it's going to really make a difference or not. Like, on the outside looking in, without thinking about it too much, people might think, well, that's going to be good for the local economy. Yeah, for the people that's already set up to get money off of it. But trickling down to you and me, all it's going to mean is higher ticket prices. That's it. That's what Tampa Bay is going to get. They're going to get hey, here's your thank you. $15, $20, $25 more for tickets next year. That's about it. You're not getting a ring. You're not gonna. You can go to the parade, but you're not gonna get on the float with the team, because if you do, you're gonna get arrested violently. You may get tasered. You may get worse. What are you winning? I mean, what exactly? And then for the folks out there that gamble, maybe you might have won some money off of it. So other than that, nah. Even if you gambling, there's a way you gamble. If you can't listen, you should never be gambling with money that you need. That's number one. Or sports betting. I know fame is like, it's not gambling, Nate. That's the N word of the sports world. Whatever, bruh. It's fucking gambling, but we'll play the game this morning. Sports betting. If you're sports betting, what different? There's a way that you bet. You should never be wagering money you need. Number one, it just kills your energy. Anybody that gambles or bets, plays any kind of game of chance where you got money on the line, to tell you that. That a sure way to lose is to be gambling with money that you need. You're gonna lose every time. Your energy's off. You're too invested. You're gonna throw it off. Any poker players out there, they know what I'm talking about. Any real gamblers out there, you know what I'm talking about. You feel me on that. It's the energy you bring into it. People think it's 100% luck. Well, there's an element of chance in any card game, but it's that energy you bring and the skill you bring to the table. You're supposed to lose gracefully and win gracefully. Simple as that. What's the largest amount of money you ever lost on a bet? Anybody out there bet on Super Bowl games and things like that? If so, I'd like to get your thoughts about that. But just a few reasons as to why the Super Bowl ain't super. Number one, you ain't getting paid. It's not helping you get paid. It's not helping you get in shape. Most people, what they do, they binge in bad food and alcohol while they're watching the game. You ain't getting nothing out of it but a feeling. They got us, man. Damn. Man, I love to get in the NFL, man. Oh, my God. It's a tremendous moneymaker because they've ingrained the NFL into the psyche of America. Like it's a part of Americana, right? Football. Man, that's a rich white man's game that they allow you to view because they get money off of it, period. Nothing more than that. That's what it is. I would love to get in on it, though, man, because they got Americans, man. They got us right here. Oh, got to watch the game, man. Look about the goddamn game. Why do I care? Why do I care? So that's number one. It's not helping you get in shape. It's not helping you make no money. You ain't getting no ring. You ain't getting nothing out of it. That's number one. But you get an experience, and we do need to experience it. So there's an entertainment value. That's it. I got more entertainment watching the Capitol siege, quite honestly. I'm just being honest with you. To me, the Capitol siege was far more entertaining than the Super Bowl last night. I know. It's extreme, man. I know. I want to wake you up and get you thinking this morning. Think about it. So that's number one. Number two, it is not the center of the cultural or even like Madison Avenue of like that advertising universe anymore. There's far more interesting media and in terms of advertising that is out there other than the Super Bowl. It used to be that the Super Bowl was like that. You wanted to see like the latest of the latest. Now it's just like they put all the premieres there. Like we know everything happened with Marvel, which is great. I ain't ishing on it. It's great. I like some Marvel. I'm cool with that. Hey, Fang, coming straight to you, brother. Coming straight to you. Give me 30 seconds. And it's just, like I said, I mean, Super Bowl commercials or TikTok Busted Challenge. I think I'm going to take that TikTok Busted Challenge. I'm just being honest with you. I'm just being a man. Can you deal with that? I'm just being a man. I take the Silhouette and Busted Challenge any day over Super Bowl commercials. That's just me. Call me different. I'm just different. But what do you think? Let me go straight to the phones here. Good morning and welcome to the show. Oh, hold on one second, brother. Hold on one second. I want to make sure you're connected properly, which you are not right now. Hold on one second. He said, "What's up, guy?" Oh, that's interesting, man. That's funny. Hold on. I think we got you connected now. Hey, Fame, you still there, man? I'm doing well. I believe. Hold on one second. I want to make sure I get you. Yeah. I think I got you. Yeah. Yo. Nah, we having some issues. Call me right back, man. I'll put you straight on. Having some issues bringing Fame into the conversation. I want to make sure That we get the brother in. Call me right back, fam. I'll put you on. All right, there he is. He called me right back. Let's try this again. Hey, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, you there, guy?
Yeah, I can get you now, man. Good morning to you. Welcome. Thanks for calling back.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me. First of all, I ain't had nothing to do with dude busting his TV up like that. He broke his TV because apparently he don't listen to my podcast. Because I told y'all on Friday that the Buccaneers was going to win, and I told you exactly why they would win. Not because they're a better team, because Tom Brady's the better story. It's a TV show, not an athletic contest. And TV shows need stars to prevail. Stars and people running stuff. Think of it as The Wire, the TV show The Wire that we've all watched. Tom Brady is McNulty. He survives everything. The Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes are Stringer Bell. They're hot for a minute, but they getting up out of there because they ain't the stars. You understand what I'm saying?
I hear you, brother, and it's kind of interesting, but how did the NFL pull this off?
Through, first of all, when Las Vegas sets the line, the NFL instructs the referees to make sure the game happens at a certain rate and pace. You know, certain plays are, nullified with penalties. There's always a penalty at an inopportune time last night for Kansas City. And it's not sports gambling or sports betting. It's sports investing is what I do. You people who gamble, you're 50-50. That's a 50-50 proposition. Sports investing, I'm at 66%. That's not a gamble.
Depending on how you
so
gamble.
Apparently all picks, whether I pick the game, the score, all picks since 2018 when I started publishing them. I used to do it on Facebook, but when I started publishing a podcast, I've been 68%, 68%.
I wasn't talking about your percentage rate. I was talking about your observation about people gambling being 50-50. Depends on what game you're playing on your skill level.
Man, there were assholes who voted on what color the Gatorade would be. That's gambling. You have no empirical evidence on what to state a hypothesis of what color the Gatorade would be. There's no need to do that. But some people did it anyway, unless you know the equipment managers. That's the only reason you would make that investment. But you want to spit, and spit ish on my name. Yeah, okay, what they say it's gambling. No, it's not. If you follow the experts,
you can do a better Nathan Ivey impersonation. I'm just saying. I know you got that in you, brother. You
need to do a better Fame Rothstein impersonation.
No, I had you spot on.
That was kind of, oh hell no.
I had you spot on.
The local expert is Fame Rothstein. Anybody else is an imitator.
Right.
I'm hearing these stories, these grandiose stories of people betting. Why would you bet your friends? That makes no sense. You're creating a problem. Because I two things that me and my friends will never fall out on: money or women. We've made that pact amongst us.
The wolf pack?
You know what I'm saying? We don't, huh?
The wolf pack?
A wolf. Oh, you cute. Oh, we got jokes this morning.
I'm learning.
Look at you.
Look at that.
Hold on. Let me finish though. Let me say this. Yeah, we made that pact that we'll never fall out over women or money. Friday, I caught the replay. I know I had called, but I had caught this. I didn't see this at the beginning. Why did you take Serena Williams off of your fantasy file while we're talking sports?
Because she did a whole bunch of cosmetic surgery to her face.
And did what? What'd she do to her face?
You haven't seen it? You should take a look at it. You take it and compare her to some of the older stuff. Yeah, every individual has the right to set the parameters for their fantasy file. Part of my parameters in my fantasy file is no plastic surgery.
I mean, what did she do? She lighten her skin, straighten her nose out? What happened?
Yeah, I think a little bit of all of that. Maybe some cheekbone reconstruction too. Something going on with the eyebrows. It's just it's not natural.
It's also not natural to tell your dad, who made you into an icon, to stay away. Maybe that's why she did that. Because she has no fatherly connection, somebody guiding her.
Maybe.
There's never been a sweeter, more heartwarming Nike commercial than the one where they splice together clips of her as a 6-year-old and a 36-year-old playing. Her dad teaching her, no, Serena, use your backhand on that one. And they show her doing a backhand as an adult, a champion. But that man, you told her to go away, Serena. You told him to go away, Serena. You blocked him from all your matches, you and your rancid sister. And I've been telling you that for years. So at this point in time of the show, it will be a great time for you to say, you know what, fame, you were right. You were prescient.
I don't believe you're right about anything, though.
How wasn't I right? I told you she was a jerk off.
Yeah, I mean, your issues,
telling her dad to go away, and now you don't want to smash.
Your issues with Serena is different from my issues. Like, I validate that that's your issue, but I don't share it.
But they go hand in hand. You don't want to smash no more because she doesn't look ethnic anymore. She doesn't look ethnic anymore because she told her black ass daddy to go away.
Yeah, I think that's a Grand Canyon leap. But I mean, I hear
it's not a Grand Canyon
I hear
leap,
that
but
you really feel very passionate about it. So I mean, that's good enough for me.
I just think that you just need. I just think that this is why I say y'all don't deserve me. Y'all don't deserve the alt middle. We was over that. We was on that 3 years ago, telling you about how rancid she was. Y'all just ain't with me. No, and now look at the talk show hosts don't want to smash. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. We were prescient on that. Thank you very much. And yeah, your sports takes are really bad this morning, bro. I mean, that's like saying just because we know that going in as a part of the deal, we'll get nothing. I'm just repping my city, and I'm just glad it's a winner on national TV as opposed to being on national TV for corrupt politicians and police splitting people's wigs. You know, so there's nothing wrong with celebrating. Yeah, you know nothing. You know, as a fan, you go, as a reasonable fan, not a fanatic, you go into that contract knowing I'll get nothing other than the satisfaction of seeing my local team win. So, people who would be expecting anything to trickle down to you, that's foolish on your part. We get nothing out of it. I mean, you get absolutely nothing out of it. Oh, well, you get nothing tangible, but black folks, we've been dealing with intangibles for 400 years. Rising prices.
So why stop now, right?
Exactly, because you're going to do it in June at the NBA, especially if LeBron wins.
I feel the same way. I mean, I said the same thing after the last NBA championship. That's cool for them. My interest in LeBron is because he's got so much hate. And so I just love it when I see him win because it silences his haters. But I feel the same way about any professional sports team. I ain't getting nothing out of it. They got us convinced that it means something. For that. It really means nothing whatsoever.
I'll give you props for that because, you did kind of open up on Brady a little bit and showed him love. Like I told you a couple weeks ago, between Jay-Z, LeBron, and Tom Brady, you'll search far and wide before you find 3 people who like all of them and respect all of their accomplishments. Why? Because America's trending socialist. They win too much. I want to see this. No, it ain't about what you want to see. It's about what's going to happen. You understand me? So all the haters.
Yeah, but how's that?
They were hating on Tom Brady last night.
But I'll do it later. Go ahead.
No. Oh, no. Please challenge me. I'm ready. What's good?
Well, it's not that important. I'll get to it later.
Okay. Okay. You're going to put some air in your chest and take a deep breath and realize that wasn't the way to go. I understand, boo. I'll holler at you real soon.
I appreciate the call. Yeah, however you want to put it, brother. Whatever you need to say, that's good. But again, is the Super Bowl still super? Like, aside from the fact that as a viewer, you don't get anything out of it other than a feeling, which I think that you can recreate watching other things. It just feels like in terms of media and advertising, it's no longer like the ground. It's no longer the cutting edge of advertising like it used to be. Like I said, you go on TikTok, you can see far more interesting media. I'm sorry. And then, I mean, if the NFL really cares about black consumers, why don't they have a majority owner that's black? I mean, they're still arguing about whether Eric Bieniemy and these assistant coaches, should get head coaching jobs. This is amazing to me. So Roger Goodell last week comes out and says the NFL is committed to racial diversity in our leadership. Wait a minute. Well, the NFL are the owners. Roger Goodell works for the owners. The owners decide who the coordinators and the coaches are going to be. So how do they, on one hand, overlook the latest wave of successful black assistant coaches? Because what's customary is like, typically what happens is like, if you're a really, really good assistant coach, as you're getting to the Super Bowl, like sometime around there, announcements come out that you now got a job as a head coach because you hot. If you're an assistant coach, that's the hottest time of your life, like right before the Super Bowl, right before that game, because like you were good enough to get a team to the Super Bowl. But once again, you had the latest round of black assistant coaches that got denied. And then Roger Goodell comes out and says, "Oh, well, we are consistent and we are committed to diversity." Well, then rather than giving me rhetoric, where's the actions? But it is what it is. It was what it was. If you don't know, Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won the Super Bowl. It was pretty much over by halftime. It was a landslide. What was it, like 35-6 or 8 or something like that? I lost count of it. At the point at which I realized, oh, they got this. My interest started to wane. And then in terms of like performances, like I said, we've got verses now. With these virtual performances and then YouTube, you can get all kind of performances. It's just not what it used to be because the internet is catching up. It's caught up and surpassed the Super Bowl, in my opinion. But what do you see? 513-873-7134. Is it still super? I don't see the super in it. With the gambling. I mean, if you're gambling on the game, you having fun with your friends, cool, I get it. If you live in Kansas City and you live in Tampa Bay, okay, I get it. But I thought The Weeknd as a performer was good and bad. It was good in the sense that he's hot right now. He's got like some world famous #1 tracks. Some people have said he's like the #1 entertainer in the world. He's tremendously talented. He's got the kind of music that really speaks to people because it's about that nightlife. It's about feelings. It's about dope in the clubs and fast cars and fast women, that fast lifestyle. Everybody loves that. He's got a great voice. As an entertainer, like performer, microphone controller, like owning the stage. He's not much of a dancer. So he kind of like walked a little bit and did like a little Weeknd. That's cool. I thought, they did their best to make it entertaining. We're not going to just bring out like a small choir. We're going to have a 500-member choir. We're going to put you on rafters. I don't know. Am I just jaded? It could be I'm just jaded. Could just be that. But I'm like, I think I'd rather just watch the Busted Challenge on TikTok. Just scroll through. I think that'd be more entertaining to me. Yeah, I think so. But what do you think? 513-873-7134. I know I'm not supposed to say those kind of things. That's exactly why I'm saying it needs to be said. Let's cut the ice. All right. Let's get straight to it this morning. Let me wake you up. All right. Good morning to you. Let's do it. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, comrade.
Hey, Black Russia. What's up, brother?
Nothing. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Hey, I was very satisfied with the Super Bowl yesterday. I'm not sure why people are like upset. I thought, considering it's a pandemic, the Super Bowl was great from start to finish. Hey, I agree with Fame. It's an entertainment value to the Super Bowl. I can't front. I like Tom Brady. After last night, Tom Brady is in the same sentence as Michael Jordan, as far as I'm concerned. So last night, it was like watching Michael Jordan play in the NBA Finals. Straight throwback. And I loved every minute of it. Tom Brady looked like a 23-year-old quarterback, not a 43-year-old quarterback. Gronkowski was great. Antonio Brown was great. Leonard Fournette was great. Patrick Mahomes was running for his life all night. And the people on the sideline, Andy Reid, and even the dude you just talked about, Eric Bieniemy, them guys look confused. So if there was any inkling of Bieniemy maybe getting the job next year after he got passed over this year, guess what? He's really stuck in Kansas City now. He ain't getting no head coaching job after last night. They put up 9 points. That is on the offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy, the black guy. He's now stranded in Kansas City. So, that's my take on the Super Bowl. I thought the weekend was hot. I loved every joint he put out. I mean, it's a pandemic. He can't like crowd surf or nothing like that. He's got to try to make it interesting. And, him having a Canadian flavor, it was cool. People just, just like, you don't find some reason not to like the Super Bowl because y'all still mad Cap ain't playing. It's like, dang, live a little, please.
Well, I'm not mad that Cap isn't playing because I think I was one of the few people who was like, I don't want to see Cap play for the NFL anymore. Why would you go back to an abusive relationship? So I'm definitely not mad about that. But hey, listen, I respect your opinion, brother. What about the commercials? Were you like, did you think the commercials were like worthy of your time? Were they interesting to you?
They were whack. There was only one commercial that I laughed at. And I'll have to get back to you on which commercial it was. Like I was watching, it was like it got a chuckle out of me, but that was about it. No, the commercials was whack. I think the Croji commercials were better than any commercial that came on the Super Bowl where they just go low. I mean that commercial, that's like the hottest commercial out here to me. Kids love it. Everybody likes it. That Croji commercial, people at Kroger made a better commercial with the Crojis than anybody that made a commercial last night, and they probably paid like $2 million a minute.
Yeah, okay, so we do agree on that the commercials ain't what they used to be. It's just, I think the internet's caught up.
I agree with you. I think that you can find more entertainment commercial-wise on the internet than you would have found on TV. It's like, why would I pay $2 million for 60 seconds when I can go on YouTube at a much lower rate and get my message out still? It's just overcharged. It was overcharged and the commercials didn't deliver. So from my perspective, they wasted their money. Whoever the people were, they wasted their money on the Super Bowl because the commercials weren't there. It wasn't memorable. The one I chuckled at, I couldn't even tell you what the commercial was about. But
I'm reading that a lot of people said that the weekend, that the Super Bowl halftime last night was underwhelming. Great artist. Like the weekend is undoubtedly a good artist.
He's hot.
He's super hot. But that doesn't mean it always translates into a good Super Bowl performance. I think they need people that perform, like that can rock a stage, that can dance.
Yeah, like Janet or like Beyonce. Like, right. They're dancing, they're singing, they're doing everything. Weekend is kind of like if you were like in if you like at an R&B lounge or something like that, and the weekend's on, like that's like the mood. But like, yeah, Super Bowl is a party, so like I get that, I hear that. I'm just a weekend fan. So, but I receive that. Like, yeah, if you want a superstar performer, Beyonce, Janet Jackson, Usher Raymond, cats like that can get it hype. So I understand that. So I can understand how people may have been underwhelmed. But then again, I mean, you only want something like Beyonce or Janet Jackson if you're having a super spreader Super Bowl. Then I can understand that. Like, I was just here with a couple people. So like the weekend was kind of like the mood. It was chill. It's a pandemic. People weren't really in the super party mood. So I guess it just depends on your atmosphere. But I enjoyed it.
Okay. Yeah.
But to each his own. I thought the game was good. It was good Sunday. It was over by third quarter.
I got a meme up. Somebody writes, in case you aren't watching the halftime show, this is what you missed. And then there's a scene from the movie Us, the scene where the tethered family first meets the real family.
The black dude.
Yeah, they got those maroon outfits on and the face mask. That is hilarious.
That is funny.
Yeah, I thought it. I give it about, on a scale of 1 to 10, I give it about a 3. I give it about a 3.
You talking about commercials?
No, I'm talking about the Super Bowl halftime.
Overall. Yeah, okay. All right, you give it 3. Yeah. I'll give it about 6. I mean, I thought it was better than average. Again, I like the artist and I like the music of the artist, so that kind of plays into it. But I understand the thing that, you want some party type scenario, but, Weeknd wasn't a party type of dude. I think they looked at the pandemic and say, we want something that's like a little more down back.
Why would they want that? I mean, you want somebody that's going to energize people and bring viewers. You want people to say that was the best Super Bowl halftime ever. And I'm thinking to myself, I thought that Jay-Z was in charge of the Super Bowl halftime now. He's supposed to bring diversity or something like that. And I'm like, this is what you do? People on Twitter were like, man, it should have been Jasmine Sullivan.
Well, they played that sister too. Me and my lady talked about that, how they brought the white dude in to do country with her. She should have just did the national anthem by her damn self. Why she need a white escort?
I agree.
I thought she could have did that by herself. She ain't need nobody doing no country music to set her up. She a star. She should have just came straight out and did the Super Bowl. But if you saying Jay-Z was in charge of all that, if he's in charge of that, he's trying to, I guess, just go across all bases, across the spectrum. Because, I mean, you think about the Weeknd. Weeknd ain't from America. He's from Canada. African-American. Well, not African-American, but African-Canadian. But, that's diverse. But,
no, I
don't know. It's a mixed bag.
I get why he was chosen. I'm not saying it was a bad choice. I'm just saying, like, the execution of it. I mean, it is what it is. They tried, though. They put him in different sets. At some point, he went backstage, and he had, like, this whole slim corridor type of vibe going on with the reflective walls, which was kind of cool. Then he ran back out onto the field, and they did the whole marching thing.
Yeah, like it's like a music video.
Say what now?
It felt like a music video.
Right. It was trying to recreate the music video. Right. I get it. It was cool to listen to.
Yeah. It was nice. But before I go, I do have to ask you a local situation.
Yeah.
Did you read Jason Williams' political extra over the weekend? It came out I think Saturday.
About PG Sinfield and the people that wrote the sign onto the letter?
Correct.
Yeah, I did read it.
What do you think about that? Because I think he made some valid points. Like, you got this letter where these people, and at some point in time later in the week, I want to get into the black people who signed it. Because these are some very, very, very low-key, heavy-hitting black folks that you may or may not know, who I'm very, very shocked that I know some of these folks, too. I'm very, very shocked that they would sign a letter.
Well, since you brought it up, who you talking about?
I'm sorry?
So let's talk about it now.
Yeah, well, I'll give you one person that I'm gonna try to reach out to myself to talk to him about this. Maurice Brown. I like Maurice. He's the vice president of Sorter Board.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, right now, all right, he represents the local ASPE 250.
Right.
I'm very shocked that in his capacity, in those positions as a black man, he's going to sign on to a letter saying that this white guy, his character is above reproach. Like that he has this high character when we seen that he's admitted to organizing shadow government in court. Like, that's just number one. We're not even talking about the pay to play shit right now. We're talking about his integrity. Okay. And for black folks to burn their political capital on a white millionaire's integrity when it's already been busted up, it's just frightening to me. Like, I've spent a lot of time this weekend reading about Cincinnati history, reading about Murray Season Good, reading about George Barsdale, Boss Cox. I mean, we're 95 years away from, front of that. And here it is back again. I mean, you read some of these books, Nathan Ivey, they talk about how, and you remember how the dynamics was too. Republicans were Democrats and Democrats were Republicans back in the 1920s before it flipped in the 60s, right? So the Republicans were in charge of the local government like the Democrats are now. Like, ain't too much change for real, okay? And black folks were in on it too, even back in the 1920s. Part of the Boss Cox machine. And I'm saying that this is the same thing 95 years later. We got black folks like Maurice part of the Boss PG machine. It's very disheartening to me. It's very sad because I respect Maurice as a man, as a person who understands politics. But for him to put his name on something defending this white boy's character when we already busted his character up through government documents, through courts, it's like why would you do that? He wouldn't do that shit for you. He wouldn't do that shit for Mika Owens. I'll call the names out. He wouldn't do that shit for them. But they out here caping for him, right? Putting their names on stuff. I'm just saying, black folks.
Now, who'd you say? You said Mika Owens? Is that what you said, Mika Owens?
Yeah, well, yeah, she's part of the Boss PG machine too.
Oh,
She didn't
did she
sign
sign
this
the letter?
but no, she didn't sign this letter. But here's the problem with Mika. Here's the problem with Mika and other folks like her and Danny Isaacson, you know, and Derek Bauman. They all were financed. Their campaigns, if they're currently running for city council, are being financed by dirty money from PG as we speak.
Is that right?
And these folks are putting their names, especially the black folks, who I'm really focused on, because Maurice really signed a letter. Mika is just a beneficiary. Okay, but Danny Isaacson, the white boy, he signed his letter too.
Dunny.
How you pronounce it?
Dunny.
Donnie, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know you're talking about. It's Dunny. Yeah, I know.
Okay, all right. Anyway, that guy, these people are signing letters defending integrity of folks who have done, and then they want to say, we want to be your next leaders when this person with no integrity is financing them. Bruh, come on. Especially the black folks. Maurice won. I'm calling him out right now. Maurice Brown. You know who this is. You know how to get a hold of me. I want to talk to you about it, because I really think that you played the black community in this one. White folks wouldn't do this for you, but you're doing this for white folks who don't give a damn about you, and you representing black folks out here in the city? Come on, man. You burning black folks doing that.
Oh,
but
I mean,
yeah, I'm going through that list with a fine-tooth comb, and I'm going to identify everybody on that list and what they do and where they live at.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's your right. But let me back up here a little bit. So I flashed it on the screen so people know what we're talking about. This was the title is His Integrity, quote, His Integrity is Beyond Reproach, letter says of Cincinnati Democrat P.G. Sittenfield. How about that texting scandal? So I did read it. I read it a couple of times. I thought it was very interesting. And I mean, listen, that's what Jason Williams gets paid to do. He gets paid to be an agent provocateur to get people to click on headlines. And he obviously is good at that. And so, that's why the Inquirer pays him, so that he can get people to read their online edition and click on to that podcast.
Like Brian McCauley and
right.
guy that you have on from time to time. Yeah.
So and again, I've said that to even some of my Democrat friends when they've criticized the Inquirer. I've said this behind closed doors, like that's the game. You can't get mad at the media for doing what the media does. If you got a problem with it, build your own media. That's what you do. But you can't stop somebody else. So I think I give props to Jason for writing an article that makes you want to click on it, because I read it like 3 times. I thought it was very interesting. But again, man, I go back to what I said with the text messaging. I still believe that at the end of the day, as a taxpaying Cincinnatian, that was politically motivated, and at the end of the day, a waste of time. I hear what you're saying. You've been consistent, like consistently from day one. You've been saying this was shadow government. I don't believe it was some kind of shadow government. I think if there's a shadow government, it's still in place. And there might be some other examples of it, but the text messaging, that was people that made a mistake, and they admitted it and walked away from it, and that was it.
And Greg Lansman is probably like the only person to apologize for it. So like Greg Lansman,
well, no, they all apologize for it. No, that's not true. They all apologize for it.
That's not true. No, that's not true.
They all apologized for it. They all said, listen, in hindsight, this was a mistake in terms of, the sunshine law, the open meetings rules. They've all apologized for that.
Acknowledging a mistake and apologizing is 2 different things, Nathan. We can agree on that, right?
Well, don't you apologize when you make mistakes?
When you make mistakes, you acknowledge it, you apologize for it, and then we can keep them moving. Acknowledging it is one thing. Apologizing is something totally different.
I think an apology is an acknowledgement, but I think we're splitting hairs here. But at the end of the day, to me, I thought the text messaging thing was politically motivated. And to me, I thought it was more about trying to get the Democrats and put some dirt on P.G. Sittenfield and other Democrats than it was anything that was impactful for the voters. And I still believe that. So that's one thing. Fair. So that I just look at the text messaging scandal differently. To me, it was a self-inflicted wound. It was not smart. And then the political enemies of P.G. Sittenfield and the Democrats, they seized upon that and tried to make it into a big deal. It was very, very partisan and very politically motivated. I think that's very clear. That's just my opinion about the text messages.
I appreciate your opinion. But I will say this about the opinion. It's one of those opinions that I respect, but it's one of those opinions that I've read in the history books too, where we have people out here apologizing for the bosses. And so like that's what your analysis, although it's yours and it's fair, it strikes me as apologizing for a political boss. because this is what people did all the time for Boss Cox. They apologized for him. They said, no, he means the right thing. He's doing the right stuff in the city. Okay? And you look at the history of it, Boss Cox was doing some pretty good stuff. But the thing was, he was corrupt. So people wanted to overlook the corruption because they were getting stuff out of it.
Yeah,
public policy.
Can I ask you to explain something to me then?
You'll take that even if he's corrupt, right?
Okay. But can I ask you to explain something that I still don't understand? So you keep saying corruption, corruption. And again, to me, this is all water under the bridge. And ultimately, I think it is what it is. But you brought it up. Let's have a whole conversation.
Not going away.
So
yes.
Yeah, I could tell, you know, Jason Williams is holding on to it because I'm thinking that the whole text messaging thing might have been good for business. You know, he probably got a lot of clicks on those stories. He's probably getting a lot of support for those kind of stories. So he's going to keep doing it. And he should.
Or how about it was a precursor for the pay to play? Like, let's think about it like that too. Like, we see the text messages scam.
I want to talk about that too.
To see here, you know what I'm saying? But it was a red flag.
I think that when you got three people, two Democrats, Tamaya Denard and PG Sittenfield, when they get tapped by the Fed saying you did corruption, I can understand why people want to make those connections. I get it. But here's what I want you to explain to me is you keep saying that the text messaging thing was it was akin to Boss Cox. And again, you got me at a disadvantage. I haven't read up on exactly all the details of the corruption back in the day.
You should. It's interesting.
It sounds like it is. But here's my question. My question is, what did PG Sittenfield or Tamaya Denard or the so-called Gang of Five, what did they gain? You keep saying it was shadow government with the text message. It was corruption. What did they gain out of this?
I'm glad you asked that question. Here's exactly what they gained, Nathan Ivey. They gained the advantage of airing their private thoughts on public business when the position they're in calls for them to air their thoughts publicly, especially when they have a quorum. Because, see, if they didn't have 4 people on the text thread, they wouldn't have violated. The fact that they had a majority and they're expressing their thoughts as a majority on a public business, that's the advantage because they can organize and get the votes lined up to pass whatever policy they want.
But there's the problem.
Doing that in public.
I thought you might say that, but that's the problem, is that nobody's vote was changed. Nobody's vote was changed.
The vote.
Wait, but that's what I'm trying to tell you. That's why ultimately I didn't see it was a big difference. Is because those 5 individuals didn't change their mind per se because they were having a conversation on text messages. They voted the way they already felt. They already felt that way. It didn't change them. It might have helped them sort of get some ducks in a row in terms of talking points.
Right, that's the problem.
But it didn't. No, but it didn't change their opinion. They were going to vote that way, and what we were talking about is the vote was whether they were going to go along with the plans of the mayor to get rid of Harry Black. That's what this was all about. It wasn't about a development deal. It wasn't about anything other than do they support
Harry Black?
Do they support getting rid of Harry Black and giving him, a severance package? So nobody changed their opinion per se. So what was to be gained from it?
Strategy, having a huddle before the actual putting on of the public sham. Because see, what they're doing behind the scenes is they're setting up for whatever they're going to do publicly. You're not supposed to do that. As a group, you do that individually. You got your little talking points, whatever you want to say and how you feel, and you bring it to the floor, and the public gets to see it, where you're coming from individually. These folks had a huddle. Hey, y'all, we're going to go to the public and do this. We're going to go out here and write this press release. There's going to be 5 people on this. It was stupid, Nathan. Like, remember when it happened? I was like, 5 people was on the press release? Like, what the fuck? Like, how the fuck they got 5 people on a sheet?
And what I'm telling you is...
You get the advantage of organizing. You organize your thoughts like that as a group, as a majority. It's as a majority in private, bro.
Seems like a small difference for instance, if you're on city council, I'm on city council, you're going to vote a certain way no matter what we talk about. But we text message and share our thoughts together. You haven't changed your opinion. I haven't changed my opinion. You're going to vote the same way. I'm going to vote the same way. It sounds like very little is to be gained out of it. So that's why when I hear people try to make it seem like there was some big corruption and I don't see what they got out of it. And I don't see how that betrayed the people per se. Now, I know if those are the laws, that's the laws, you should abide by it. But again, the steak ain't worth the sizzle. It was a whole lot of sizzle, but not a whole lot of steak with the whole text messaging story.
Right.
That's just to me.
But there's a whole lot of sizzle and steak because what they did was they tried to set up what the public posture was going to be. Your public posture is your public posture, okay? But you're getting together with your majority colleagues trying to organize, because the mayor is the mayor, right? Obviously, the mayor didn't have 5 votes. PG felt like he did, so he organized those 5 votes behind closed doors. That's the key thing. Whether they change the votes or not is not the issue. It's like in bribery. It doesn't matter if you go ahead and vote after you took the money, after you already agreed to it. You've already agreed to it, so you locked in. It's the same thing. You get 5 people together who are elected officials. They're a majority out of 9, okay? They can set the policy on city council. They have to do what they're doing in public so that the public understands their thought process. They cannot develop their own strategy as a group behind closed doors and then present to the public as if they got to their own conclusion by themselves.
Again,
that's the sham of it. And
sounds
I'm saying
like
that's
small
the
potatoes to me, man.
pay to play.
It sounds like small potatoes to me. Here's the other thing.
Right.
Is,
but you apologize for it, though. That's what I'm saying. As long as PG was putting out equity, tangible, and all the other stuff you like, his corruption can be excused. And that's the history of the city. You excuse corruption as long as you're getting what you're getting out of it. And I'm saying to you, that's unacceptable on any level. Same thing with AFTAB. I look at the AFTAB too.
I hear you, but I don't feel you.
Now you want to be the mayor. You corrupt motherfuckers can't be the mayor. Excuse my French. Period.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you, but
you keep talking. I'll holler at you off the air. We got to talk anyway.
I hear you, but I don't feel you, because just because you get 4 or 5 people, let's say they city council members, and they agree, thanks for the call, and they agree on something on text message, there's nothing stopping them from having a second thought. There's nothing stopping from them to saying, you know what, even after that conversation, I'm going to change my mind and get to council chambers and make that decision. So I hear you. Like I said, there's a lot of forces out there that spend a lot of time trying to convince us that the text messaging was the worst thing in the world. And I don't believe that. I don't see it. It wasn't kitchen table issues. I think that, there were some opponents. There were some people out there that didn't want to see PG sit and fill. So I think a lot of that text message stuff had to do with him. Just be straight with you. And it had to do with trying to put some dirt on him before he was going to run for mayor. I felt that then. I felt that now. Same thing with AFTAB. I don't give a damn about the campaign. His mother gave him some money to run for a campaign. He has some money left over and then put that money toward another endeavor. And because of the Ohio election laws, he did it backwards. He wasn't allowed to do it. To me, yeah, abide by the rule. You should go by the law. But I'm not going to look like every violation is akin to homicide. I'm going to look at it and put it in its proper place. I thought it was a little bit of nothing. And I felt like the stuff about AFTAB was politically motivated. Probably by, Shabbat or some other Republican, cronies out there to try to put some dirt on him. And it looked like it worked, all right, so he wouldn't beat Shabbat. So having a gerrymandered district ain't enough. They want to try to get some dirt on your name. However, what I would say to candidates, and I've said this publicly, and I've said this privately, is that you don't shoot yourself in the foot. You got a target on your back. Be smart about it. Dot your I's and cross your T's. Real simple. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you control what you can control, because you're going to have enough of a problem dealing with the stuff that you can't control. So whether it be, AFTAB Pureval or PG Sittenfield or Greg Landsman or any of the so-called Gang of Five, which to me was more of a media and Christopher Smitherman contrivance, because only Wendell Young referred to him as that. Thank you. If you're any of those individuals, then you got to make smart moves, period. If you got a target on your back, then you should react accordingly. So, when I look at the whole text messaging thing and the text gate and Gang of Five, I blame the individuals involved. Y'all should have been smarter about it. And you don't shoot yourself in the foot. You don't make those kind of mistakes. That's a straight Gilligan move. And these aren't Gilligan times. There's people out there on some straight Peter Baelish type ish. What we didn't get a chance to talk about was, so Black Russia says he's very upset with the people that signed the letter. I'm not upset with them. If that's what they feel like they want to do, they should do it. I mean, I'm not upset with PG Sittenfield because he wants to put up a defense. He says he's innocent. If he got the money and the people around him to put up the defense, who wouldn't do it? I don't care if he's white, black, green. If you feel like you innocent and you got the resources to put together a public or a legal team, then you should do it. You should do it. It's amazing to me. Some of these same mofos that was running around here talking about how Donald Trump had every right to put up a legal defense against baseless lies, unfounded, some kind of election fraud. Or some of the same folks saying that now PG Sittenfield shouldn't put up a defense. Why shouldn't he? What would you do? You would put up the best defense you possibly could. That's what you would do. And that's what he should do. That's what I would do. And if that means that I'm going to go public and try to get some public officials and public folks on my side to sign onto a lever, then damn it, that's what I'm going to do. And that's what I would advise you to do if you find yourself in a similar circumstance. What's wrong with that? Now, we don't know if that's going to work, but as I said, between Mr. Pastor and Mr. Sittenfield, I mean, they should be looked upon as innocent until proven guilty. I don't give a damn what the record of the feds are. What's that means? I mean, there's some new information. I mean, I'm crossing timelines here, but the Federal Bureau of Investigations has a very checkered background, especially with black folks. So now we're going to just chuck all that to the side because people say, well, the feds, when they come to them, they come serious. I agree with you, but that don't mean they're infallible. And in this country, you are innocent until proven guilty. I'm consistent. I said the same thing about Tamaya Denard until she copped her plea. I'm saying the same thing about Jeff Pastor. I'm saying the same thing about PG Sittenfield. Period. You know, if you feel like you're innocent, you should fight until the last breath. And if you got the resources and the connections to get, you know, people in the community to sign on to a lever, then you should do that. You should do that. If you got the money, if you find yourself in some legal troubles and you've got the money to get the best lawyer in Cincinnati, then you should do that. You should do that. If you got the money you find yourself in legal troubles and you got the money to pay for a PR firm to represent you and run PR for you, then you should do that. Well, who's not going to do that? So I hear it, but I understand how this goes. I understand 100%. So I don't feel any kind of way about the people who sign onto the lever whatsoever. I mean, if that's how they feel, you have to ask them individually. You know what I'm saying? And if they feel as if, you know, they want to support PG until something else drops, then they should do that. It is what it is. And at the same time, if people want to critique those individuals for your reasons, like I'm not trying to invalidate what Black Russia tried to say, because that's his opinion. That comes with being in the public. So when you sign your name on something publicly, you open yourself up for the critique. You don't have to deal with that. Don't get sensitive because you signed on to it. And it's public. So don't get sensitive now. It's a yin and a yang to it. It's two sides of it. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. We are where we are. But again, folks, don't think this stuff ain't politically motivated. I'm telling you, do not think there's a lot of games being played. And if you think for 1 second that because Tamaya Denard is no longer on city council and Jeff Pastor and PG Sittenfield are caught up with their legal issues, then all of a sudden the so-called shadow government doesn't exist in Cincinnati, then you don't know what the shadow government really is. You don't really know. You think it's about 2 or 3 personalities. It's much bigger than that. If in fact there is a shadow government, which a lot of folks I talk to behind the scenes says there most certainly is. I'm just here to tell you. You know what I'm saying? That's the game. They throw up a few people over here while the real game is over there. That's the game. Just don't fall for it. But I want to make sure I give, hopefully I answered as much as the question that you had about it. He said he was going to reach out to the brother on the soda board. Leave that brother alone. He signed on to the letter for PG Sittenfield because he fucking wanted to. That's why. You ain't got to keep asking this man and these men and women. They did because they wanted to. Period. Let me go back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Mr. Ivy. This is your Black Not Democrat, your West Side connection, Drop Squad 52, out here on the left coast of Southern California. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing excellent, brother. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. And first of all, shout out to the All Middle, shout out to the Invasion podcast, and shout out to Sin Digital Media because they are blowing up. But Mr. Ivy, I'm sitting here listening to your to your response after hanging up on, after your call with
I didn't hang
Black
up.
Russia.
He hung up. I didn't hang up.
Right. He hung up. Right. My bad. And you were talking about shadow governments. And Mr. Ivy, did you happen to read the Time magazine article that came out over the weekend written by Molly Ball?
Molly Ball.
Yes.
What's the title of it?
The title of the article, The Secret History of the Shadow Campaign That Saved the 2020 Election.
I did not.
Right. I know a lot of people. Well, you missed a lot, Mr. Ivy, because it's right exactly what you're talking about when you're talking about these secret and shadow governments. They operate the same way in politics, in media, and in Hollywood. And my last two episodes on the Black Not Democrat podcast hosted by Drop Squad 52, the Saturday episode was entitled "The Lamestream Media Willing Accomplice of the Democrat Party," which I speak directly about this article. And then Sunday, the episode was titled "Here We Go Again," but I'm not going to talk about that. But in this article, Mr. Ivy, it speaks of how these groups of individuals, all from the right wing, from the left wing, from social media to corporations to sports to the clergy, how they all ganged up on a mission by any means necessary to remove Donald Trump in 2020, i.e., defeat him at the ballot box. And when you read this article, I know your audience, they're very smart and they're very intelligent, and they're going to trust but verify everything that I say. But in this article, Mr. Ivy, it says exactly what Black Russia was talking about. How these so-called public figures are huddling behind the scenes privately, doing all these different things, and then when they come in public, they have a whole different posture. And this is what happens a lot in politics, local, state, and federal. But because of social media, Mr. Ivy, because of the medium that you're on, YouTube, these type of things are beginning to be exposed or brought to the light. So people who are looking for information and who want to be informed, they're being able to see all these things, because the same type of article was written back in 2016 by John Heilemann, who's the founder of this Showtime show called The Circus.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
about. He wrote almost a similar article about all the dirt that the Hillary Clinton campaign did with the fake dossier and the fake Russian information campaign and the whole thing that led up to the Robert Mueller investigation. He wrote the exact same article. So now here we go, fast forward to 2020, and now Molly Ball is writing the same article. But guess what, Mr. Ivy?
I haven't read the article, but from what you've told me, I don't hear any problems with it. So she's saying that special interest groups came together and they organized behind a candidate that they preferred to win in the 2020 election. Did I describe that accurately?
No, you did not. No.
Could you describe it then for me again? So what's the problem here? Was there some kind of laws broken? I mean, where's the issue?
Because it's in the title. It's in the title. Do you remember all the hearings on Capitol Hill with Facebook, with Twitter, with Google?
Yeah, I do.
And okay, that was all part of this cabal, which Molly Ball wrote. It was a secret cabal.
Okay, so here's the title. The Secret History of the Shadow Campaign That Saved the 2020 Election. That saved the 2020 election. So that just the title implies that whatever they did was actually ultimately a positive outcome. I want you to understand. That's what the title, I haven't read the article. That's what the title implies.
No, wrong, Mr. Ivy. This is their idea of controlling elections, taking the election out of the hands of the people. Because if you remember, back in 2016, how they were talking about how the Russians were putting all these ads on Facebook, tricking black people.
They were,
because we all know black people are just what? No, but this when you read the article, let me just read. This is the third. I think it's like the third or fourth paragraph in the article, because you know how it is when you read these articles, Mr. Ivy. You got to
read
deep,
the entire
deep.
article, not just one or two paragraphs and cherry pick, but
not just the headline. Okay.
Well, you brought the headline up. You said it's in the headline. I don't see anything in the headline. That's the only reason why I reiterated.
The headline, Mr. Ivy, the headline is to get you to read down into the article. So if you'll allow me, just real quick, it's a couple of lines.
Oh, okay. Sure.
It says, "This is the inside story of the conspiracy to save the 2020 election, based on access to the group's inner workings, never before seen documents and interviews with dozens of those involved from across the political spectrum. It is the story of an unprecedented, creative, and determined campaign whose success also reveals how close the nation came to disaster. Quote, every attempt to interfere with the proper outcome of the election was defeated, unquote, says Ian Basson, co-founder of Project Democracy, a nonpartisan rule of law advocacy group." Now,
okay, sounds all good to me.
I know it sounds good to you, but you're one man, okay?
With one mic and one mission, and I'm trying to get to your point here. So what's so bad about what you found out in this article? I don't hear any problems with it.
Did you ever hear me say that there was something bad? All I said was, Mr. Ivy.
Well, you were implying that something was wrong.
It speaks to what Black Russia was saying, how these things are done behind the scenes.
Black Russia was talking nonsense. He was talking nonsense.
Oh, okay.
Why would you build your point off of that nonsense he was talking?
Okay, that's cool. That's cool.
And now you've called up and suggested an article, which I have not read, but from what you told me, I don't see what the problem is. It sounds like some people came together and stopped Donald Trump and the Trumpsters from stealing the election, and therefore defying the will of the people. That sounds like a good thing. Whether you want to call it the secret history or the shadow government, it sounds like the democratic thing. I don't hear what the problem is.
Okay, Mr. Ivy, when you hear the word conspiracy, do you think of legal or illegal activity?
I don't think either or. I mean, the implication would be something negative.
That's what I thought. Yeah, that's
why you have to read the entire article. You didn't read this whole article, did you?
Exactly.
You didn't read the article,
That's why I brought it up. Because, yes, I did. I just read it to you. Listen to my episode.
You read me 2 words. You read me 2 sentences. Did you read this entire article?
Mr. Ivy, I just told you. I did an entire episode on the Black Not Democrat podcast hosted by Drop Squad 52 on Saturday, entitled "The Lamestream Media, Willing Accomplices."
That don't mean you read this entire article, because it sounds like you did not. It sounds like you read the first couple of paragraphs. You read the word conspiracy, and now you're running with it. That's what it sounds like.
Okay. Just like lame ass, politically petty Glenn from Mason.
What's Glenn from Mason got to do with this?
I do research when I do my show, Mr. Ivy.
But you didn't read this whole article, though.
Talking like I'm some late night.
I'm not trying to say anything.
DJ.
I just simply asked you if you read this entire article, and you've yes to say.
And I told you
yes.
And I told you I did.
Oh,
that's why I'm bringing it up to you.
Don't sound like
know
you did.
what the hell I'm talking about.
It sounds like you don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Okay.
Because you still haven't told me what's so bad about what this conspiracy is and what people did.
Okay, this is what's so bad about it, Mr. Ivy. If the so-called Russian government did the same thing to get Donald Trump elected, and everybody said it was illegal, it was collusion, it was corruption, it's unheard of, it's challenging our democracy, this is the exact same thing, except it's done by the left-wing media, because they're taking the power away from the voter. Mr. Ivy, we're talking about social media. Okay, read the article, people. The listeners of the Nathan Ivy Show, who's just blowing up all over the place.
Bruh.
Listen. Yes,
bruh.
sir.
You sound ridiculous.
This is your show. This is your show. I know you're gonna. I know you're gonna try to make me sound like
it has
a fool.
nothing to do with being my show. The point you just made is absolutely ridiculous, bro.
Yeah, it's ridiculous to you, but it ain't ridiculous to a lot of people who vote in America, and they find out that there's secret conspiracies going on behind the scenes to manipulate the message, to manipulate the information, to try to control the information that's out there, to influence the way people vote.
Are you telling me, sir, that you don't know the difference between, let's say, some concerned American interest groups coming together? That's what it sounds like. It sounds like a whole bunch of American-based interest groups got together and decided that they wanted to make sure that Joe Biden won. And then when Joe Biden won the popular vote, they stood as a resistance to the lies that was coming from Trump, the Republican Party, and the Trumpsters out there. You telling me you don't see the difference between that and a foreign agent, a foreign government? The example you just gave was the Russians. You don't understand the difference between the two of those, sir?
No, there's no difference because it always comes down to the money. And Mr. Ivey, the election results across this country, the Democrats did not gain seats in the House. The Republicans basically have the Senate split. It's split 50-50, but technically it's 49 Democrats and 50 Republicans and one shady-ass independent, Bernie Sanders, that's caucusing with the Democrats that gives them the tiebreaker. So again, Mr. Ivey, these are individuals in media, in entertainment, in politics, and in culture, and clergy that all form Voltron to do one thing, to get rid of Donald Trump. Okay? So their whole goal was to get rid of one man. Because this is who they put in place.
They put illegal, sir.
They put in Sleepy Joe Biden, who is already causing problems in the Democrat Party.
The people put.
Yes, they did.
Joe Biden
they anointed. They anointed. Read the article, sir, because people right now are reading the article.
Allegedly,
because you
read the article. And you still are struggling to tell us what the problem is.
Read one. No. See, I don't look at black people as stupid. Okay, I don't tell them nothing. I put the information out there for them to go see it for themselves.
You're spinning this article to fit your own political conclusions. That's what I'm telling you.
Okay.
So what did this conspiracy do that was so illegal?
Now you're telling me I'm spinning it.
You are
Which one is it, Mr. Ivey?
So tell me this, Drive.
So I had to read it. I had to read it in order to spin it,
you had to read it. But tell me what allegedly. So tell me what this conspiracy did that was illegal.
It's not about what's illegal. We all know that. This is politics because we get ready to have a damn ass impeachment tomorrow, which has nothing to do with the law. We're talking politics, Mr. Ivey. Stop being intellectually dishonest. Okay, sir? Because I know
my best.
Exactly. I know, but Mr. Ivey, with someone with the intellect of yours, it is hard to fake it. And it's showing right now in this conversation you have with me.
It certainly is showing.
I ain't going to take up too much of your time, but I got one quick question.
Sure.
Mr. Ivey, on CNN, on MSNBC, on Fox, all the major cable news networks, don't they play clips from each other's shows?
Yes.
And that's kind of like normal now, right?
Yes.
Right. So if I have a podcast and there's another person who has a podcast, is it against the podcast rules for me to play highlights from his podcast on my podcast so he can be dragged for the bullshit that he says?
It depends.
That's fair in podcasting, is it?
It depends. It depends. So it depends on how. It depends on how they have decided to deal with their copyrighted material. So and it depends on whether it depends on whether they know about it. And it also depends on whether they know about it and whether they want to pursue anything legal. It depends. So,
okay.
You got different. So like on YouTube, you got different classifications of copyrighted material. Some people have taken the steps to make that more pronounced than others. It depends.
Right.
When you talking about the big folks like MSNBC and Fox, they've got relationships they've worked out already beforehand. So to answer your question,
gotta do is give credit.
You could play a clip from somebody's podcast and they might send you a cease and desist letter. That would be well within their rights to do so. Or nothing could happen. It just depends on whether they know about it and what they want to do about it.
Right. Or they could get on Twitter and bitch about it by saying, with all due respect, Draw, you acting real weird. Stop stalking Twitter conversations. That it is weird as hell. I know you live in California, but damn,
what are you talking about?
Nice dude.
What are you talking about?
Stop cloud chasing of my name. That was from Glenn from Mason on his Twitter last night. I woke up this morning, checked my Twitter account, and this little whining little biatch is whining about his little 4 little bitchy episodes that I got 12 up. That ain't counting my other stuff I had on Spreaker. I'm not even counting those. I'm dusting his ass in this new podcast thing. So that's all I got, Mr. Ivy. Drop Squad 52, Black Not Democrat, talking science to anyone who wants to catch it. Trust but verify everything, people.
Oh, believe me, we will. And I got way more than I needed, way more. So you and Glenn got this thing going between yourselves, huh? Well, what I would say is if in fact there is a competition between podcasts, it's not about how many episodes you got up. It's really going to be about the quality of the episodes. So you can have 15 up, and I'm not in any way trying to say anything about the quality. I just want to make a larger point. But you can have 100 episodes up, and if they're not that much quality or interest, then you're probably going to generate less traffic than somebody that maybe has 1 or 2 episodes up, and it's more of a quality of a conversation, and people might have more interest in it. So I wouldn't get caught up with that. It's interesting, man, because I've had those conversations, doing podcasting, and new people come into it. It's very interesting sometimes the things that people say, and they get kind of obsessed about and get caught up with. But I wouldn't worry about that. If you're a podcaster, here's what you got to do. Run your race. Don't worry about what anybody else is doing. Don't care about anybody else or what they're doing. Just make sure that every time you deliver a podcast episode, it is of the highest quality you can possibly muster, and it is of some interest to the public. Other than that, I wouldn't worry about it. That brother was all over the place. I think you read this article not knowing or thinking I was going to go and I linked it to everybody on the stream so they could check it out for themselves, but I haven't read it. So I'm not going to give you some kind of great insight on it, but what you were saying just don't make a lot of sense, Drop. It sounds like you was trying to turn this into some kind of everybody talking about the Trump conspiracies. Well, Joe Biden had his conspiracies too. What do you mean by conspiracies? Well, a whole lot of people got together and exercised their democratic right. What's the problem with that? Well, it's just like the Russians. It's nothing like the Russians. It's nothing like the Russians at all. So I wonder if you really read it, and if you read it, if you really processed it, because I haven't read it. And just from what you were telling me and reading just a little bit here, I think they were trying to make a different point. But again, I have to read it to conclude for you. Let's go back to the phones. That was strange. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning, Nate.
Hey, what's up, Brian?
This is Brian. Hey, not much, man. I usually will bow out of this particular conversation because I think it's so in a box. But I think the framework for this conversation about democratic rights and shadow government and this is small and narrow. And I'm going to say why in maybe, I don't know, in a couple of minutes. How do you think COINTELPRO happened? How do you think schools get open despite popular disagreement with that decision? When is the last time you voted on whether or not you go to war? When is the last time Flint got to vote on their water system? When is the last time we had a chance to vote directly about developments in Cincinnati, Ohio? See, this is where we get to the problem. We're denied the access to real democracy, where we directly make decisions about the things that most affect us. Instead, we get this very limited and narrow concept that our democratic rights are boiled down to the person we choose that we hope does what we ask them to do or what they say they're going to do. But to me, real democratic rights, real access to the resources and the decisions is yet to be gained by us in totality. That actually did start to happen back in the 1800s, when there was a radical Reconstruction government where the resources and the material and political decisions and political posts were held by normal people like you and I. And what did they do when they got that power? They started to take all the resources in the country. They started to take the resources from rich folks. They started expropriating their land. They started building railroads and public schools and public works programs. Thousands and thousands of women as teachers migrated to the South to begin to open up the first public schools. Workers began to go on strike to demand better wages and living conditions. And because we started to carry out real democratic rights, the Union, the federal government, turned its back on us and allowed the slavocracy to reassert itself and destroy the gains that were made. That was real democracy. That was the only time in U.S. history that Black people and poor whites had a real taste of democracy. And what did the rich people of this country do on both sides? Not just the slavocracy, but the so-called North. They crushed it. So I'm not saying, therefore, all our conversations have to revolve around that, but it's important at some point we step back in all this. Like, of course, there's the shadow government is the government. They make decisions behind closed doors and in your face that you have no say about. The only say you have is the illusion that if you choose the right one, they might do you right. But when they get in those back rooms and those private parties and so on with developers and rich people, they don't give two what's about you or me. They act in the interest of those who are in control. And those who are in control are the wealthiest people on the planet, and their interests don't start with us. And they don't end with us. So I just wanted to throw that out there because we get in this thing where we have these back and forth as if either of the parties, defend our interests. If you feel compelled to support one of the other at any particular time or one of the politicians, because like you said, Trump was different than what the Republican, he was outside the framework of a traditional Republican Party candidate. He was pushing for right-wing fascist ideas. So if you felt like this is where you take your stand, so be it. But understand that the real power and politics that we have has yet to be unearthed. And we get little glimpses of it in history. And every time you see it, what does the state do? They try to take it down. Just like when George Floyd was killed, you started to get a glimpse of hundreds and thousands and maybe even millions of people who said enough. And when they do that, that's when real changes start to happen. So I just want to throw that out there, man.
Hey, Brian, appreciate the flows, brother. Take it easy. Yep, it's Brian Taylor checking in. Interesting. He says it's bigger than politics, or it's bigger than partisan shit. It's bigger than Democrat and Republican when you talk about shadow government. I just read something about the death of Fred Hampton and how the FBI and the FBI director, J. Edgar Hoover, were more intimately involved with that assassination attempt or with the death of Fred Hampton and other Black Panther leaders. He brought up COINTELPRO. That's what triggered the memory. I think there's a much more deeper history that's far more troubling than we want to allow ourselves to acknowledge that it exists. We got brother Glenn on the line. Oh, sit tight, Glenn. I'll come straight to you, brother. At first, though, we need to take a quick moment for our sponsor this morning. If you're looking for a dream home, if you're looking for some rental space, or perhaps you're looking for commercial space, I know someone who can help you. You can contact Team Wellburn this morning at 513-252-1055. Check this out. We'll be right back.
It's that well-born experience. That well-born experience. 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 It's that well-born experience. Yeah, that well-born experience. That well-born experience. Experience. Tell us what you need. That's the question we start with. We specialize selling condos, houses, apartments. Make sure that you happy with your residence. Keep it real, no filter. Otis, the realtor from the nattiest heaven sent. It's the well-born experience. Ain't nothing like it. Every time he talk to his client, he's so excited just knowing he able to put them in a place to lay their head, not focusing on his profits, but on the client instead. Right. He keeps it so professional and from his conversation. You can tell he studies before sharing information. Educated, motivated, ain't nobody better. Who's willing to walk you through every step to relieve the pressure? Yeah, and just so you know it's real, you get a special personalized rug once he closes the deal. So go and call him up so he can get you live. 513-252-1055.
Again, that's 513-252-1055. 513-252-1055. Or you can visit them this morning at their website, thewellbornexperience.com, or contact Team Wellburn via Gmail at teamwellburn@gmail.com. Good morning to you. My number is the same, 513-873-7134. In a minute, I want to talk about some things that are happening here locally, including Walnut HIlls parents. Walnut HIlls parents, many parents who have children that attend Walnut HIlls High School are upset over CPS decision to return to an in-school option, which is supposed to start next week. Now, I talked with many of the board members, and many of them expressed, and I was glad that they gave that honesty in those questions, at least that particular question. Many of them expressed their reservations about the safety protocols for Walnut HIlls. In particular, I remember we talked with Ryan Messer, and he said straight up that he had some different opinions. Now, as I understand it, the school board is scheduled to have a meeting today. We talked with Carolyn Jones. Many of them express that when it relates to Walnut HIlls High School, that they have some uneasiness about these safety protocols. Will it be 3 feet? Will it be less than 2 feet? My daughter attends Walnut HIlls. We got an email giving us the details about the safety protocols. And, she laughed at it. She was like, this ain't going to be safe. She's like, people are not going to be single file. So the way it's supposed to be is like when they travel from class to class, you're supposed to have everybody on a single file line on one side, and then everybody's going to be on a single file line on the other side. What I would love, and I know we live in a digital age, and I think we will see this, what I would want to see is I want the Walnut HIlls students to take videos from inside the school and then send them to us here on the Nathan Ivey Show and send digital media, just making sure that these safety protocols are actually being adhered to, right? Because just knowing teenagers, I mean, they live to rebel. And we've seen images from schools around the country where they're supposed to have these safety protocols and supposed to be 3 feet distancing, and it looks like a mosh pit. So we'll have to wait and see. So I do know that there's supposed to be like a public demonstration today, I believe, at the Mayerson Academy, which is the home building for Cincinnati Public Schools. That's where they have the meetings for the school board, and that's where the executive offices are. I think that's going to be today between 4 and 6 p.m., which I think leads up to the CPS board meeting. So we'll see. We'll see if those concerns that were expressed on this program will be brought up. As I've been looking at the numbers, and I bet these school board members are like, whew, because as a parent, I am. But I've been looking at some of the information coming up. It looks as if COVID over the last week or so, those numbers of infection rate is going down, which is a great thing, trending in the right direction, which if it continues in that direction, you can expect for the school board members to put their chest out and say, hey, look, we told you, and we're glad to see these things kind of happen. But what does that mean for Walnut Hills? Walnut Hills is going to be a little bit different because of the nature of the school building and the size of the student population there. So they have a unique situation going on over there. I've even heard, without giving you any details, because I don't really have any, but I've heard that parents are talking about legal action and, they're organizing now. And I love that energy. I say stay organized. No matter what happens, stay organized. If you're creating grassroots organizations and movements to give you greater leverage with the school board, no matter what happens with COVID, you should keep harnessing and growing, that movement in those organizations, because you never know what the near future might hold. You never know. So we'll have to wait and see. I mean, it sounds good. I've even seen, because they've got these different groups on Facebook now. I've even seen where some people are like, you know what? Hey, I'm getting the thumbs up from the teachers. I think it's going to be okay. So again, we're seeing some of that outrage is kind of melting away. I'm from Cincinnati. I know Cincinnatians, right? I know the blacks and I know the whites. I know this city. And I know that outrage can be very short-lived. This is a very knee-jerk reactionary city, always has been, perhaps always will be. And so people can react in the moment. But in terms of creating a sustained movement, a sustained organization based upon the decisions of the school board, we'll have to wait and see. So I even reached out to try to get some parents from Walnut Hills on the show, and I'm hoping to line that up throughout the weeks, hopefully starting tomorrow. I mean, I don't know if any parents are listening right now for Walnut Hills and you're planning on being a part of any of the demonstrations today, or maybe you're going to speak at the public testimony or public portion of the CPS board meeting today, and you want to call in 513-873-7134. I think this conversation is still relevant, and we'll have to wait and see. I mean, the school board could just as easily today say, you know what? We're going to do something different with Walnut Hills. We're going to keep you, where you are. In terms of my daughter and her learning, like I told you, from her own mouth, she feels as if, why? We've gone this long, and she feels as if she's going to get less instruction than she was going to get in some other ways. So, I think that no matter what happens with COVID, for me, and there's a lot of issues that, you want to bring before the school board, but the way these decisions were made, the way this decision was made during a pandemic, I think is very, very important and very, very telling. So I think people should hold on to these feelings and do something about it. But let's go to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Nathan. My name's David Dawson. I've got a sophomore and a junior. My wife and I have a sophomore and a junior at Walnut Hills.
You say your name is David?
Yes.
Hey, good morning, David. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. We've actually been rather active in a couple of the Facebook groups that you mentioned, one being Walnut Parents for Remote Learning, and plan to participate in the protest today at 4, and certainly plan to speak at the board meeting, which will be online this evening. We also spoke at a board meeting a month ago, and my wife and I and a lot of other parents we know with Walnut are very concerned on a number of points regarding the decision, the abrupt decision to send Walnut students back.
What is your concern, Dave?
The concerns are both academic and health. And what's really concerning is that the Board of Education abruptly and with no explanation changed their criteria. When you look back in the fall at what they considered cutoff points for COVID numbers, where we rank in the state on the color coding and all, suddenly that doesn't seem to matter, and there's been no good explanation. So 3 specific points regarding health. Number one, they said back in, it was a couple of months ago, I guess it was either in October or November, the board said they would need to see a sustained daily decline in the number of confirmed cases. That has been happening over the past couple of weeks. They said they wanted to see a positivity rate of less than 5%. Well, as of yesterday, Hamilton County was 10.5%. They also had said we needed to be down at a yellow or orange level, and we're currently at red. And what amazes me is that they're acting like we're all excited that we dropped back down to red. So we went from really, really bad to bad. And the Board of Education's, in my view, basically celebrating that. Wow, this is awesome. We're back down to red. Well, compare that to just a few months ago, we would have been looking toward the future and said, oh my God, can you imagine if we get in the red category? So it's sort of short-term memory. I got a kick out of when you said outrage is short-lived in Cincinnati. I appreciated that comment. I'm not originally from here, but I've lived here 33 years, and I would agree with you.
Yeah. So
separate from the health concerns, then, especially at Walnut, it is just a stellar school. We're so proud that our two kids are there, and they've gone through CPS starting at kindergarten. And we specifically chose our house because we wanted to live. I grew up in public schools in Indianapolis and Evansville, and my wife and I are a real believer in public schools. But Walnut, as you well know, rigorous academics. A large percentage of the students are taking advanced placement classes for college credit. And at least here at our house, we have really settled in to the fully online learning. And it was a struggle back in the spring when suddenly on March 12th or March 13th, we suddenly weren't going to school. But this academic year, we feel the teachers have done a phenomenal job of converting to online content. And now that we're settled in and we're halfway through the third quarter, we feel it makes no sense at all to rock the ship and suddenly be going part-time in person, part-time online. And the bottom line is there will be far less instructional time. That is the big concern, especially as we're heading toward the end of the second semester.
I'm with you all the way, David. I'm with you 100%, man. My daughter is in the 10th grade. How old are your children at Walnut?
10th and 11th grade.
Okay.
I have to stop and think because I can't believe they're that old.
Yeah, I know, right? It happened so quickly. So your daughter and one of your children, my daughter and one of your children in 10th grade, they might be classmates for all we know. So we're in the same boat.
Yeah, our daughter's 10th grade. Our son is 11th grade.
Okay.
And so with this online, it was rocky in August and September. And if the vaccine had come earlier and COVID had died down and we could have gone back much sooner, yeah, that would make sense. But at this far, we feel we are so far along that it would be very disruptive academically. But then the health concerns, none of this makes any sense at all. Our kids are worried about going back. They've expressed some of the same things your daughter has of like, oh yeah, everybody's going to walk single file down the aisle. One concern I have, your comment of, or just take some pictures and video in the halls when they're changing classes. I've seen over the past couple of years, a couple of times students have done that, and it'll show up on CNN of something unsafe in a hallway, and the school district has gone after the student for that's a violation of school rules. So that was my first thought on that of, yeah, kids are going to be doing that to show how screwed up it is. And then what are the potential repercussions of them saying, here's a video showing unsafe conditions. And then suddenly they violated a rule they didn't even know existed. Right. And I don't know if that rule exists with CPS, but stuff can get crazy.
It can get crazy, and there is a real concern about retaliation within CPS. But there's ways around that. There's ways of putting video out there without telling the identity or
the source.
The source, right? So that's why I would say, if people get those kind of videos, send them to us. We'll protect the source. But in terms of getting an accurate bird's eye view of what's going on, then we need that. We need that. And again, there's a way of doing it without putting a source out there.
Right.
So
another point on the health. I did a little bit of research last night before planning to give you a call. The school board, the Cincinnati Health Department's advice to schools was that remote learning is advised if the daily cases per 100,000 in the county exceed 25 daily cases per 100,000 people. Well, back on January 30th, that number was 52. And as of yesterday, it was down to 46. That still far exceeds the health department's recommendations. And in regards to that, the Board of Education has not presented any health professional to say, you know what, this makes sense. This plan is fine. And that doesn't make any sense. And to your point of where you're hearing from people that, have talked to board members outside the official meetings, and they're saying, they're not really sure about their decisions and their choices. It's like, okay, that's what you got elected for. You need to make smart choices.
And I respect that. We're already back, so sorry about that. Not sure what happened, but if you missed it, we had David on. He's a parent at Walnut Hills. He's got two children at Walnut Hills, one in the 10th grade, one's in the 11th grade. My 10th grader just came down and told me your screen froze. I could see on my end that it froze, and I think we're back up. These internet things, sometimes they happen, but the show goes on. And I would agree. I think that, I want to believe that all the board members are well-intentioned people. But I think that in terms of and we already knew this about CPS, like going into this year with CPS, there's a couple of broad observations that I could make about them that I think that anybody will agree with. Number one is that CPS has a major communication problem. They have a major problem with communicating with the public. It is terrible. And we don't even have to talk about Gabriel Taye and the issues that his mother had in terms of getting, actionable information about what was happening with her son. But CPS has a terrible communication problem. They got a communication problem if you want to bake cookies and tell everybody how great they are, oh shit, they're gonna put you to the front of the line. If you're in the part of the baking cookies club and we're gonna knit sweaters for the teachers and administrators, oh, they got no problem with communication on that. But with communicating difficult conversations, communicating critiques, holding people accountable, they are terrible at that. They were terrible at that coming into this school year. That is still something that remains. There's a lot to be desired, and there's a lot more that's attainable in terms of CPS and communicating across the spectrum, with people. Would that be communicating like bullying issues? Terrible at it. Okay. Not to say that they're not working on it, but I'm not saying that anything that CPS hasn't heard already. And what we can see is that the board is terrible at communicating, because there could be some really valid reasons as to why they changed it. But having talked with all but one member of the board, I'm here to tell you that they're not all on board, that they don't all have the same level of information, and that they can't all articulate it in a way that really makes sense. Because back to what David said, a lot of people were looking at them, and the reason why the school board member, I thought that Julie Sellers said it best. I'll give her props again. When I talked to Julie Sellers, and she said, well, you know what? I keep hearing from the board. And she said she knows these boards. And, I got to circle back around and talk to Julie, because when we had the last school board member on, somebody's telling lies, and I want to get to the bottom of it. Julie Sellers, who's the president of CFT, along with dozens upon dozens of teachers who've hit me up in this stream and on the low, have said that they haven't been contacted by the board and the administration, and that their input wasn't really taken. But when I talked with Eve Bolton, she swore up and down that the board went out of their way to get the input from the teachers. Somebody's lying here. I want to get to the bottom of it. Okay, so I'm going to reach back out to Julie Sellers and play that clip from Eve Bolton, and then just get a response. Maybe we can get something out of it. Somebody's not telling the truth. Okay, are they doing that Cincinnati thing where they want to play word salad and play with words and all this kind of stuff instead of just keeping it 100? But the same thing with the board. Julie Sellers made an excellent point. We talked maybe 2 Sundays ago, did a show. And she made an excellent point where she said, well, part of the reason why the board didn't hear from a lot of parents who didn't want to go back to school is because you had this criteria that you made public. You know what I'm saying? When I talk with CDM, when we talk with the superintendent, she talked in length about all of the criteria that they would use to make a decision to go back in any capacity back to in-school learning. So why would you tell the public that? And then when you make your decision that those criteria don't work anymore and you change, you can't be surprised that people are like, well, wait a minute, you just told us one thing and now you're doing something different. And so David is right. They had this list of criteria and they shot straight through the criteria, overlooked it. And that's the way people are going to look at it, because the board and CPS did a bad job of communicating when their opinions were changing and what was really informing their opinion. They should have did a better job of telling us. And yeah, I remember going back to that December 20th board meeting. I remember I brought some of the images of the PowerPoint up. They said, hey, we might change it, but they could have done a better job of communicating that and also getting the input from the parents. Like I said, I talked to Eve Bolden. She blew me away. She basically said that doing parent surveys are invalid. She don't see no usefulness in it. But anecdotally, if somebody calls her or stops her in a grocery store or she gets an email, that's impactful. That makes no sense to us, Eve Bolton. I'm sorry. So doing a survey using POSIP, which you're not paying for, that's not comprehensive enough. But you get a dozen or so or half a dozen emails, that you're going to take that as the gospel? That doesn't make any sense. So, from a communication standpoint, there's a lot of work that could be done there in terms of making sure that everybody is communicating directly with the public what they should be communicating, and that people have a sense of buy-in, and that even all the board members are on board with the information as well. Because again, I talked to all of them except for one, and I got the same BS from all of them in general. But in terms of their logic and the information they were using, it was just all over the place. And the messaging was far less. You can't even use the word cohesive. But let me go back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. Welcome. Who am I speaking with?
This is Amina.
Hey, Amina, what's up?
How are you? I couldn't comment because I'm in Facebook jail.
Oh, really?
So I had to call you.
Yeah.
Why
are you in
I've been in
Facebook
Facebook jail for. It's funny how you can say the N-word all up and down your timeline. Well, I don't say it, but you can see it all up and down your timeline. But then the moment I say that the terrorists that were in the Capitol were white trash, I get thrown in Facebook jail. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, it is.
So,
wow, that's crazy. What's on your mind, Amina?
Well, I just wanted to call in real quick. Like I said, I can't comment or post anything, but you and the other caller, David, are speaking the truth. I mean, you all this morning have nailed it. I agree 1,000% with what everything David said, and I agree also with what you're saying about the communication problem that CPS has. Absolutely. Absolutely. They need a director of communications. They need a solid project manager to put all of this together because they are all over the place. It has been so much back and forth, forth and back. These poor teachers and parents and students. I mean, I don't wish this on anybody. And I have a junior at Walnut. And we pretty much have just been figuring it out, going with the flow. My daughter already said she didn't want to go back. I wasn't planning on sending her back. I am not sending her back to Walnut. She tells me all the time, she said, Mommy, they can't even keep soap in the dispensers and the soap dispensers in the bathroom. She said, they're not going to keep that school clean. And then the whole going against what the CDC and the health department has recommended. Where does this 3 feet bit come from? That should tell you right there. They don't give a damn about the students for real.
And at Walnut, it's not even going to be 3 feet. They're going to do something where they're measuring in the classroom 3 feet, not between the desks, but from the center of the seat to the desk center of the seat across the aisle. That's how they're measuring 3 feet.
Ridiculous. It is all ridiculous. And I get it. I know there are parents who are definitely like, look, this isn't working for my child. This is not working at all. I need them in the building. And I get that. It's very hard. This is a damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario. You know what I mean? You're not going to please everybody, obviously. But as David stated, we are in the third quarter now? Just go ahead and finish out the school year at this point, because you are going to keep ruffling, the feathers of parents, getting us upset with this indecisiveness. The children are in the middle of this tug of war. They're going back and forth and back. Just they can't make up their minds. And the leadership, don't even get me started on the leadership in this town. I'm so over it. So at the end of the day, everybody's got to make the best decision for their family, and unfortunately this CDA is not a great option for a lot of parents. I can say, I've looked at it, but again, there's so many holes in the plan and the structure. And, my daughter's in 3 AP classes right now. So what does that mean for her AP classes? There hasn't been any concise plans of action to pivot to CDA for these students who are in multiple AP classes or classes that haven't been offered before at CDA that they are currently enrolled in at Walnut. And it's just, again, if we're in February of 2021, this happened last March. What is going on that they are still, fumbling through papers and trying to make up, points of action, and it's February? Like, come on, get it together.
It's like, what were you doing this past summer?
That part.
What did they do this summer of 2020?
I don't know. Maybe they was on vacation. I don't know. They was doing something else besides putting a plan in place and viable options that can really work. Because, I mean, this is ridiculous at this point to still be going back and forth and, okay, well, we're going to try this. And then just going against, like I said, going against what the CDC, going against what the health department and everything that they're saying. I mean, that should be against the law. I don't know. It shouldn't be that they should be able to do what they are attempting to do.
Well, the CFT tried to get an injunction, but they came up with a Republican judge, and she made her decision. So we are where we are at this point. We'll see what happens today. Maybe members of the board will express some whatever. We'll see.
We'll see. That's been the whole thing since last year. We'll see. It has been just a we'll see scenario this whole time. And it's like, golly, just come on, make a decision and stick to it.
Just stick to it.
Just stick to it. Just have some balls and stick to the decision that you stand by and quit going back and forth. But as for me and mine, I'm not sending her back. She don't even want to go back. My daughter's like, Mommy, I'm good. And she is good. I'm very, very blessed to be able to have a student who is like, I'm getting it done. I'm doing what I need to do. I do the work. And that's it. For her, she actually says she prefers online. She's like, this is working out. She's getting more sleep. She even said, Mommy, if I go back to school, you know what time I got to get up in the morning just to get on the bus and get there, So, disrupting her flow right now wouldn't be good. So I don't plan to disrupt it. She's not going back. Walnut, they can do whatever they want to do at this point. I'm over it. If we end up having to go the CDA route, I literally will make the decision probably at the 11th hour just to see what what the board comes up with tonight. And, who knows? I'm not putting it out there, but as we have seen with the past holidays and gatherings, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's Eve, whatever, the numbers have spiked. Yesterday was Super Bowl. Who's to say a bunch of people weren't gathered in folks' homes and at bars and stuff watching the game, and, the numbers might go back up in a week or so. And then they shut it down again if, they decide to bring the students and teachers back in the building. It's like this hamster wheel is just ridiculous. Make a decision, stick to it. My vote is stay virtual, at least to the end of this school year. Revisit it, put all your ducks in a row, and get a real plan in place for the fall semester.
Amina, thanks for the call. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Thanks for what you're doing.
Oh, most deaf. That's Amina right there. She said her daughter attends Walnut HIlls. She said she's not going back. Yeah, I agree. She said they should have some balls. I agree. When I talk with the school board members, aside from a few of them, I thought that Mike Morawski showed some balls. He was the only one that stood up and voiced any kind of concern about. And again, I don't know what this whole politeness and decorum thing is. You know what I'm saying? I could tell today everybody wants to be polite. I guess Carolyn is cracking the whip. She must not play. Because I'm sensing I don't know where this is coming from. Y'all all was independently elected by the people. Get up there and represent. If the board president or the superintendent or the majority of the board don't like it, so what? They'll get over it. I mean, even with Ryan Messer, I tried to nail him down to say that he was going to offer up a motion. He just didn't want to do that. I'm like, well, what you scared of? I'm not scared of anything, Nate. It sounds like it. all this fake Cincinnati politeness is going to get people killed. Now, I hope for the best. I hope these numbers can trend down. I hope that whatever they decide, people stay safe, nobody gets sick. We as humans can get ahead of COVID. In our arrogance, we think we can lick anything. Get a few scientists together, they come up with a vaccine. We got it licked. It's the arrogance of humans is going to get us all taken off of this paradise called Earth. The arrogance of humans. But again, I mean, it's just some of their logic. Nearly all of the school board members, when I talked to them, brought up the same study suggesting that it's safer to be in the schools than in the community. That's intellectually dishonest. That is not the option. The option is to stay virtual at home, not at your local barbershop. They're not going to Kroger to take classes. Most of the kids are at home. And then when you press the school board members, as I did, to give us the facts behind their opinions, they don't have any. They ain't have any. Well, I'm concerned about the quality of learning. So what data do you have? Well, they did a study back in November of last year. And we got 1/4 of the students that we were expecting. We only got an 80% response rate. Usually 99%. Okay, so what does that mean? What the hell? I mean, give me some data. They don't have no data. They start talking about some Duke University study. Duke University? But this is what it is. We are where we are. You get what you get. And we as parents are going to have to do what we got to do for our children. So get their natural immunity up. You still got time, making sure you stand away from that white sugar. There are things you can buy at your grocery store that will build up your gut biotics, making sure you're getting exercise in, making sure they're doing the things they can to build up their natural resistance so they can be as strong as possible when and if they got to go back into these school buildings. That's what you can do, mom and dad. Do the same thing. But let's go back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to the show. Hello.
That's is it me? Hello.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome.
I just wasn't sure. I called the number just because I saw it on the page and I wasn't sure if there would be. I guess you are talking to me.
Yeah, I'm talking to. What's your name?
Pudding Tang.
Pudding Tang. Okay. Okay, Pudding Tang.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
Welcome, Tang.
So, and let me just say, I kind of randomly stumbled upon the live feed because I heard something unrelated. I heard something on the news that there's going to be some kind of protest at the school board meeting. There's going to be some kind of vehicle circling the Ed Center or whatever. And I was searching for that. And while I just Googled it, that's how I kind of stumbled upon what's going on here, this live broadcast. And in doing so, I've only heard a little bit, maybe, 5 minutes or so. I heard the last caller that was on the air, and I just wanted to just add a little input to what's going on. I've said this before, that I think that there are times when, not necessarily you, but just in my own life and in conversation, I've said it before that I think that there are times where the general public, people, parents, get out there with the pitchforks and the torches and want to march on the schools and burn the whole situation down and the whole system. And I hope that my message is received with the love and care that I'm attempting to deliver it. I am not sure if it will be received that way, but I can say one of the reasons why I said my name is Pudding Tang is because I'm inside. I'm on the inside, so I don't necessarily want to speak for anybody other than myself, and I don't want it to necessarily come back on me. Because baby the kids need new shoes, baby got to eat, all that. And I'm trying to, strive and survive and make my living in this way.
I respect.
But all that being said, in most cases, in the interactions that I have with folks that are outside and not necessarily inside, and even sometimes inside, is that most of the time, people don't seem to have all of the information. And it seems to be very easy to point the finger and to be angry. And I can be guilty myself. because even my own perspective, where I say that, hey, I have a different perspective on what I feel, how people are misguided and don't have all the information, because I can honestly say, and I will say, I am not a company man. Like, I'm going to be here, I was here before this company existed, and I'm going to be here after the company goes under, if indeed that happens. So I'm not necessarily speaking for the company, but I can speak from experience that people don't have the information. Now, I heard you talk about data. A lot of times there is not necessarily the data to point to. As an example, one of the things that I saw DeWine talking about was that, we need to send the kids back to school because the school is not where the COVID is being spread. Well, okay, that might make sense, but if you think about it, COVID is not being spread in the school based upon that information because the kids ain't in the school. And that kind of doesn't make sense to me. Like if it's not being spread because there's nobody here to spread it. There's nobody in the school to make it spread. So if you bring the kids back to the school, it just might spread.
Right.
But again, when I hear people complain about stuff like this whole process, people are talking about how you need to get back and have a new plan. Your last caller, respect to her, but she mentioned that you got to come together and come up with a plan. If you take into consideration that, it's been a year, but all of this was just, it was all dropped on us. The whole world was all dropped on us unexpectedly. And in order to have a plan, so like Nathan Ivy, you came up with a plan. You came up with a plan to put this forum together, the Nathan Ivy Show. But prior to you coming up with that plan, that you had to hone and tweak and build your platform based upon you specifically. Prior to that, you had a plan that was put in place. You had an environment that was put in place by other people, not yourself. If that makes sense.
It does make sense.
Like prior to that, what was it called? Was it Straight Talk Live? Was that what it was?
Yeah, that was on that was a Radio 1. That was on the Wiz. Yes, Straight Talk Live.
Right. So in Radio 1, in that scenario, if the folks that are consuming this content right now, if the folks consume the content that you created back on Straight Talk Live, when you did that, and I don't know, but I can speculate that when you did that show, you just showed up. You showed up, you clock in, you walk in the studio, there's the studio there for you, and you got a whole team of people that may not necessarily be working specifically for you, but that are working to get that content out to the community. And you might not have had to do much on the technical side. You just show up with your research, you hit the button, you got stuff, you fire on all cylinders because you had that support system in place in that building. Well, then, hey, between then and now, not sure exactly what happened, but I can kind of speculate because of how crazy the radio business is. Things change. And now you're out here outside of the umbrella. You're no longer underneath that umbrella of Radio 1, but you're still doing the Nathan Ivy Show. But it took time for you to put that in place. And if I'm right, it may have been a shock to your system when you didn't have that. I don't know. I didn't follow it that closely. I heard it, indirectly. But if you don't have that system in place, if you can't show up and press those buttons, then you got to come up and build your own. And that takes time. And now for Nathan Ivy, it might have just been you personally making that happen to bring this content to the audience in the way that you bring it now. And that's a personal struggle for you. But if you just imagine that whole struggle happening to, thousands of students all across the entire district, that's a process that you got to have a whole team. They got to be spinning a whole bunch of plates and riding bicycles and patting their heads and rubbing their bellies all at the same time to make it happen. And it's quite a challenge. Now, sure, we got a whole lot of professional people that are out there that are trying to make this happen. but it is also a community effort. And I'm not saying that the parents should not be out there with pitchforks and the torches if they believe that it needs to happen. But I am saying trust and believe that there is a whole community on the inside striving to try to make it work. And on the inside, we don't have all the answers. But on the outside doesn't have the answers. We all just trying. We are trying. I promise you and anybody that is out there listening, consuming this content, there is a group of people, a team, a family, a community, not just staff, not just employees, but also parents that work on the inside. And it is so hurtful to hear and see the pitchforks and the torches when they want to burn it down. When we just like you. We just like you.
Well, hold
out here. We're trying to make it happen.
Hold on, Pudding. Hold on, Pudding. So I don't think I haven't heard anybody say burn it down. This is just parents and community members doing what they are, what's they're entitled to do, which is coalesce and rally their voices. If you on the inside, let's say you work on the inside, I don't think you should take that as a personal slight. It's not personal. What should happen is you do what you're doing on the inside,
and then the
parents and community do what they're doing on the outside, and maybe y'all meet somewhere in the middle.
And hey, Nathan, when I say burn it down, that may just be only an analogy. That may be an analogy, but I tell you, just at times talking to people individually, and people are angry, and I don't necessarily take it personal.
Sound like you was about to take it personal there for a second.
You may be correct in a sense that the challenge is that, as I said originally, lack of information. And I don't think everybody has all the information.
Okay, so what information are the parents and community lacking? So what do we need to know that you know?
I don't know if everybody needs to know everything. Because in the same respect of you and your situation, going from Radio 1, going to where you are now, there's a whole lot that happened between there that folks didn't necessarily beat you up about, but you knew you just had to make it happen. There's a whole bunch of technical and contractual stuff that has to happen that doesn't necessarily need to be exposed, but other than to know that, hey, folks are just trying.
Okay, so what's relevant that we need to know that people don't know or you don't hear people saying?
Just the simplicity of what I mentioned and how I compared it to your situation. That within any organization, I don't make this general, but it applies. Within any organization, as I described and made the example with you, that if you've got equipment and resources that are attached or installed into a specific physical location. And then you want to make a change, a dramatic change where that equipment is going to be utilized outside of that physical location. You have to make a physical change in the way that equipment will communicate back to either the physical location or to a centralized online location.
I don't understand what you're talking about, Pudding. Nah, you just keep it simple, man. Just plain talk.
Okay, well,
what are you saying? No analogies, just keep it straight.
In the same way that you show up at Radio 1 and they got all of the mixer and everything and all the sound equipment plugged into that building, and all you have to do is show up and do your show. If you have to take that show on the road, there's a whole lot of ways that you need to change the way that happens. So in the same way that the students may be learning inside the school building with equipment that is inside the school building, now all of a sudden you want to take it out the building. In the same way you had to take your show on the road, there's a whole lot of changes that has to happen. That physical and time-consuming change, it just takes a lot. It takes a lot, and there's a whole lot of challenges in making that connectivity, in making that happen.
I think we know that. I think we know that, and that's even more of a reason to stay virtual. From what I understand, if I'm understanding you, I think the analogy isn't really the strongest one, but trying to glean something out of it. I think we already know that as parents and members of the community. Like, we understand that COVID is not CPS's fault, and that they had to do a whole lot of movement in a really, really small time frame, and in some cases with not all of the available medical science in place to make decisions. We got that. We way past that. We're at the point as parents and members of the community where we're outraged that we're told that you're going to make decisions based upon safety on a certain criteria. You don't really make the efforts to contact the parents, right? The community, to engage with the community on their opinion. And then you make these decisions and shoot us a whole bunch of BS and try to tell us that it makes sense. That's where we are now. And then for the parents at Walnut HIlls, they're concerned about the population density as compared to, the size of the school building, which puts it in a somewhat of a unique position. So I hear what you say. I didn't really hear any new information, and we got that. It was hard for CPS. They got to move from A to B, and then we get it. We get it. But what's that have to do with you making decisions based upon a certain set of criteria, and then, oh, by the way, ignore all of that? You got a whole new set of criteria, and you're not communicating with us along the way.
Well, now I will say okay, and I slightly disagree with you in a sense that at least from where I am, I don't feel that people recognize that, and that may be just me, but I don't feel that folks recognize all the stuff that I talked about. That you said that, hey, we got that. I don't feel that. That is not the same experience that I am having.
You don't feel
and
what?
As far as
you don't feel that people understand
I
what?
Well, as you mentioned, that you talked about the technology behind the process and how things had to change and how to do a whole lot. That you said, well, we got that. We understand that all this had to happen without the science, et cetera, et cetera. So you said we got that as a community. We got that. We understand.
Yeah, we got it. The community understands that.
My understanding is that they don't have that. That is not being understood. And I may be in a specific and unique position, but the things that I am receiving from inside and outside, it does not seem that as if people understand that. People seem to not understand that. But
we understand and that's it so well. That's the reason why a lot of parents think at this point in third quarter, it probably makes sense for all the reasons you brought up using your analogy, that it makes a lot of sense to stay where you are, stay virtual. As opposed to keep moving pieces back and forth, just bring some consistency to the educational experience, so everybody knows what to expect, and at the same time, we can take the health issues, to the utmost level. So yeah, I'm sure there's somebody out there that don't understand it, but the vast majority of parents I talk to, Tang, they all understand that, man. We way past that.
Well, then. The vast majority of parents that I talk to do not understand that. So we can agree to disagree on that. And I just say, for my unique experience may be different than yours, but I am on the inside. And so, when I talk to folks on the outside, that's my experience, is that folks do not understand it. But to your other point, which may not, there may be no answer to your other point, in the sense that some of the additional challenges that I see, that I experience, is the communication. There doesn't seem to be a consistent means of communication as far as people being able to receive information. Because again, the folks that I talk to don't seem to have whatever the plan might be. If the plan is ABC, somebody will inadvertently come up to me and say, well, I thought the plan was DEF. And I'm like, well, where'd you get that from? Well, I don't know where I got it from, but, it sure wasn't ABC. And I'm like, well, my understanding is ABC. And there's a whole lot of methods of communication, and I don't know The answer may just to be one centralized location of information where folks would know to go and be able to communicate. And I don't know if that exists.
Hey, well, Tang, I got to make a move, man. I'm over 10 a.m. I appreciate your call this morning.
Hey, you know what? I appreciate you. And just allow me to babble off. I appreciate you. You, sir, you keep up the good work because you out here, you're a soldier. And, whether we agree or disagree, I just appreciate you just making it happen and just, stirring it up and trying to keep it going.
Oh, most def. Appreciate you. Take it easy.
All right. Be blessed, bro.
Yeah, most def. Appreciate the call. That brother says he's on the inside. I want to hear some people that's on the inside. All right, we got one last call, then I've got to make a move, family. Got to make a move. Hey, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hey, it's me. I can't say my name because I'm on the inside too. So, but you know me. I was just calling to kind of clear up, kind of like what I was hearing Pootie Tang was trying to get out. As an educator, we had to make a lot of transitions. We passed that. And even some of the teachers is feeling the same way as the parent. It's the third quarter. Allow us to have some consistency to see how much the kids, we can't even take data to see how much of the children progress within a quarter because we have no quarter that we had a consistent environment for them. We went from online to back in school, and in the middle of the second quarter, we went back to online. Now we're in the middle of the third quarter, going back to in school, and now we don't got the data. That's why they're talking about November, because we have not had no consistent quarter that we can actually say, okay, this is how many. I could even go by my classroom. Yeah, when we first ended in spring last year, a lot of children wasn't logging on. But by now, every day, out of 20 kids in my classroom, every day consistently, I have between 18 to 20 children log on. Okay, so that's me seeing my children every day consistently that I could do a well child check. Now we're going to go back to me only seeing my children half a day on Monday and 2 days a week. So now there's 2 days that I won't be able to check to be able to make sure that everything's okay. And that is on the inside of where the things are changing and the fear that some of us teachers have, not only being exposed to COVID, but now we can't even check on our children every day. At least online, we was able to see them every day and be able to say, how was your day? How's things going? And communicate with them every day. We don't even get that. And I agree with your daughter. She's going to be getting less because she won't be able to see a teacher every day. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Appreciate the call. I brought this up to the school board members, and one by one, they tried to tell me that water wasn't wet. I charged them all, most of them, with crimes against logic and common sense, talking to grown folks like we're not intelligent. I made the same point to them. But many of the majority of these school board members, I'm talking about Pam Bowers, I'm talking about Carolyn Jones, I'm talking about Ryan Messer, I'm talking about Ben Lindy, I'm talking about Eve Bolton. The school board members that I spoke to are 100% focused on in-school learning. They seem to lack the ability to think outside the box. And it seemed to me as if they are running this based upon their assumptions that are probably based in some kind of fact pre-COVID or things they got last year. Among all of them, I perceived not just a disregard, but damn near a contempt for parents' view on this. Because if they really cared about parents' view, then they would have, as board members, pushed for a parent review to use POSSIP. CPS is paying for this. Why would you pay for a communication tool and then not use it? It doesn't make sense. I made the same point to the board members about, on one hand, they say, well, it's about the well-being for the kids. Well, how is it about the well-being of children when they're going to have less time with their teachers? And then they pivot and say, well, it's about quality time. Wait a minute. Now you're changing the argument. Is it about frequency or is it about quality or is it about both? Because you can't have quality if you don't have frequency. You know what I'm saying? checking in, if you're worried about the physical well-being of a child, being able to check in with that child daily is better than being able to have a child sit in a school building for 6 hours, but then 2 days out the week, you have no contact with them whatsoever. It doesn't make sense. And none of them could make it make sense. And that's because they're trying to make the illogical logical. They were trying to defend the indefensible. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And there was nothing that I heard from any of those board members' names that I mentioned that would change any of that. They seem like good people, but they all seem to have lacked the ability to think outside the box, to be flexible. All of the ones that I mentioned, and that's Pam Bowers, Carolyn Jones, Ryan Messer, Eve Bolton, and Ben Liddy, all of them demonstrated in my conversations with them a lack of out of the box thinking. All of them are stuck on the fact we got to get back to the school. 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 And that might come from legitimate places. But where is the flexibility of dealing with things in the moment and thinking outside the box? I think of all the board members that I mentioned, they all disregard it, even though some of them would acknowledge, but they're disregarding the quality of the virtual learning experience. All of them, when I pressed them, many of them would acknowledge, yeah, some good things happening, but then their actions and their rationale is like, oh, none of that matters. We got to get you back in the school building. We got to get you back in the school. We got to get you back in the school. And to me, that's a crime against logic, especially during a pandemic. Now, things might turn out where the infection rates continue to go down here in Hamilton County, and let's say in 3 or 4 months, there's a serious conversation, or maybe a month, if you listen to Ben Lindy, because he can't wait to get the kids back into the school 5 days a week. And I don't understand what's driving that. I don't get it. After talking with all the school board members, this is the best I got for you. Okay. I don't understand why Mike Morosky was the only school board member who spoke up and said, hey guys, look at what's happening right now. We were at that point in the purple. Anybody concerned by this? I can't tell you why he was the only person that did that. To me, it represents a lack of out of the box thinking, a lack of intellectual flexibility. And I think sometimes you can arrive at a conclusion, and anything that supports your conclusion, you latch onto. And anything that doesn't support your conclusion, you disregard. And I think that's what I got from the school board members that I spoke with. Many of them have this conclusion, which is we want the kids in Cincinnati Public School back in school this school year as soon as possible. Period. And that's what they wanted to do. And so any opportunity to do that is what they were going to do. And that's what they did. Seems very obvious to me. But in terms of these questions, I don't have any answers for you, because to me, there are open questions as well. A lot of it just doesn't make any sense unless the conclusion is we want you back in school as quickly as possible, as soon as possible. Now that makes sense. And that's what we saw. And that's what it is. I don't know what the school board is going to do tonight, because I don't know what these folks are. To be honest with you, after speaking with them, I don't know what's driving them. I don't know what they may do. I have no idea. At this point, if I had to guess, I would say to the school board, from what I talk with them and the vibe I got from them, and then you also have to understand that since I had those conversations with them, the news in Ohio in terms of COVID is getting better. So if I had to make a guess right now, and I'll do that for the sake of the show, then I would say that you should get prepared if you're a Walnut HIlls student to go back to school next week. I don't see the board changing their mind whatsoever, because, why would they change their mind now when they made this decision when we were in the purple and now we're in the red, and they can all say, hey, look at the numbers. COVID is going in the right direction. So why would they change now? I don't see that happening. I think they're going to stick their guns. They want the kids back in school this year. To them, I brought this up to Ben Lindy. He was like, what do you mean the school year is over? We got so much learning left. I'm like, man, if you don't stop with this, that's just what their view is. Their view is we want you back in school as quickly as possible. That's how they see their role in all of this. And that's what informed their decision. They can say it was based upon science and data, but to me, they were just cherry picking and trying to make the conclusions that they wanted to that supported what they wanted to do, period. And that's the reason why nobody except for Mike Morosky, offered any objection or any other kind of opinion about it, because that's how they feel about it. And that's it, without saying anything about anybody's intentions, or because I want to believe they all care about the kids. Why would you do a job like that if you don't care about the kids? They don't really care too much about public opinion. They don't really care too much about what the parents think, because if they did, they would have had a better relationship with the parents in terms of communicating. That's one thing that's very, very clear. So again, a crisis can tell you a lot about leadership. What we've learned about the majority of the school board is that when there is a crisis, they don't really want to hear from the parents. None of them can argue against that, because if they want to hear from the parents, the question remains, why didn't you push for more parent surveys? Why didn't you use POSSUP in December or January before you decided to double down on the decision you made last year? Why didn't you seek out the parents' view? And the reason why is because they didn't care about it. Eve Bolton, I think, was the honest of all of them. And she said, I frankly don't think that it would be that valid. It wouldn't be that comprehensive. What the hell are you talking about, Eve? So now you don't believe in polls? The hell? Then why ever send a survey home then? If you, how can you be a school board member and you don't believe in surveying parents? That's amazing to me. That blows my mind. So again, I'm not here to say anything personally about any of them. These are the conclusions that I drew based upon the conversations that I had with them. That they arrived at this decision. We can go back and forth, and I did about the particulars. They're going to say whatever they want to say, even if it doesn't make sense in a lot of cases. It is what it is, and I would expect nothing different tonight. Now, I don't think that means that parents shouldn't show up. This is just my opinion. I could be wrong, because we had at least 2 or 3 board members. I mean, again, Ryan Messer straight up said that he didn't think that the plan at the Walnut Hills was safe. So today will tell us what kind of man and what kind of leader Ryan Messer is. There's no other way of looking at it. It is what it is. Period. There's no other way of looking at it. You're in a leadership position. You made a decision. Then you said a couple days later you heard something different that gave you pause. This will be the first CPS board member since you said that on the Nathan Ivey show. Well, now what are you going to do, Ryan? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? I don't know who. Like I said, Carolyn Jones must be cracking the whip, because some of them seem like they're afraid to speak their mind. I don't get it. Sis must be a taskmaster, and I ain't mad at her. You do your thing, as long as it makes sense. But these reservations to object or to challenge or to contradict the majority of the board, that's why you were elected, if you feel inclined to do so. Now, if you don't, and this is how you feel based upon the available information, then be true to yourself. I'm not trying to get you to be anything different than you are. So parents are talking about, legal action. We'll see what happens. Parents are talking about showing up today in mass. Great. I'll be on the spot doing interviews for CDM and the Nathan Ivey show. So if you see a tall brother with a camera, it is going to be me. And I'll be talking with people, getting interviews, just being your independent news source on the scene, and letting you know what's happening. And I think that starts at 4 to 6 today, which means that I had something that I had planned for 4. I may have to reschedule that, maybe do it earlier. And so I can make sure I'm there. I want to be there for all of it. I want to see what happens. I'm curious. But if you asking me to what do I think is going to happen, that's what I think is going to happen. Now, before we roll out of here, family, another word from our sponsor, then I'll come back with some closing thoughts. Don't go anywhere.
It's that well-born experience. It's that well-born experience. It's that well-born experience. The well-born experience. 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 It's that well-born experience. That well-born experience. That well-born experience. Experience. Tell us what you need. That's the question we start with. We specialize selling condos, houses, apartments. Make sure that you happy with your residence. Keep it real, no filter. Otis, the realtor from the nattiest heaven sent. It's the well-born experience. Ain't nothing like it. Every time he talk to his client, he's so excited just knowing he able to put them in a place to lay their head. Not focusing on his profits, but on the client instead. Right. He keeps his own profession, knowing from his conversation. You can tell he studies before sharing information. Educated, motivated, ain't nobody better. Who's willing to walk you through every step to relieve the pressure? Yeah, and just so you know it's real, you get a special personalized rug once he closes the deal. So go and call him up so he can get you live. 513-252-1055.
Again, that's 513-252-1055. Thank you so much for being here, family. I really appreciate you. Thank you to all the calls. Again, this show is always open to the public to talk about what matters most here locally. Keep your eyes on CDM. We want to make Black history during Black History Month. Got some really exciting plans for the Cincinnati area and beyond that we will unveil this month. So stick with us. Thank you so much for being here. Have an excellent rest of your day. Remember, winners focus on winning, and losers focus on winners. So stay focused and stay winning, and we'll talk real soon. Until next time, I'm Nathan Ivy, and I'm out.
Thank you.